Mr. Tyler Forbes, ladies and gentlemen. This guy. Now, Tyler, we met when I was, in your backyard slash patio in your little
Casita.
hut.
Yes.
Your
The
casita.
breathing. We'll call it the casita. It's a lower version of the casita. It's between a shed and a casita.
I was going to say, AKA shed.
That doesn't sound so well.
No, it doesn't. Where are we going with this one?
I have no idea.
Where are we going with this one? So this shed, by the way, and Tyler Forbes, by the way, has been a chiropractor for 20 years?
Yep.
20 years chiropractor in Encinitas, right?
No, it's actually in Sorrento Valley.
Sorrento Valley.
Back in motion.
Back in motion.
Back in
Love
motion.
it.
Chiro
Okay.
rehab.
20 years. You live in Encinitas.
I live in Solana Beach.
Solana Beach.
Yeah. Close, dude. North County.
Hey,
just put them together. Hey.
I didn't know it was such a thing. Close enough. All right.
Exactly.
And so the reason I met him in a shack down by the river, or no, was it a bus?
It was a van.
A van.
It was better than the van.
Yeah. Was because I got invited by an amazing friend of ours, Tatiana LaBelle.
Mm-hmm.
Said, JD, you got to come try this thing out. I just tried this thing called Wim Hof Breathing Workshop. And I'm like, what is that? And she's like, I'm just telling you, it's insane. It's like a breathing workshop, and you get into actually, now that I realize it, she didn't even tell me about the cold plunge. Nice. Until I think I got there. Like, I don't.
I love it.
Right? So
just bring a pair of shorts.
Yeah. That's right. She said, "Bring
for?
a bathing suit." I'm like, "For what?" She goes, "Well, you get into a bath afterwards." I'm like, "What kind of bath?" I actually don't think she told me it was going to be. Was it 39 degrees?
Yeah.
40.
38.
So Wim Hof breathing. If you're watching this, and this is, I could not wait to have Tyler on, because this guy, his passion for health and wellness, and the way that he talks is, I don't think this could be a more relevant topic this day and age right now, with everything that's going on with the scaring, and the people are frightened with their health, their wellness. Where do we go from here? So I said, you're coming in right now. Let's get you in here fast, because people need some insight and some inspiration on what to do. Sure. Anyway, the point is, Wim Hof breathing is a type of, let's do this. Give me a quick description of Wim Hof. Quick description. What we're going to do then, as we always do with this platform, this podcast, Real Deal Talk, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in case you forgot who you're listening to, is we're then going to go back a little bit to get some context, find out a little bit about Tyler, his background. So, who knows, maybe somebody can be inspired. Can identify with where he's been, what he's been through, and how he got to this day and age. But we're definitely going to come back and hit home on the Wim Hof breathing thing. Cool. So do me a favor, give me a sum up of Wim Hof breathing workshop of what you do, basically. So, because he now has an actual, by the way, we met in the shed. He was practicing with people. How many people come in a week through your?
We had like 3-4 classes a week.
But
it was small group, right?
In his we literally walk into his house, into his living room. We'd pee on a pH stick in your bathroom.
That's right.
To test our pH, right? Because and I'm gonna let him talk about this. How the only thing that's actually scientifically proven to turn your blood to an alkaline level is oxygen.
Yep.
Right, and we're gonna get more into that, because a lot of people think, organic or whatever, alkaline water, blah 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 blah,
supplements, food,
foods, all that stuff. So anyway, we go into his literally his living room. We do the breathing thing, and but now he has an actual a brick and mortar business, the first of its kind. Is it first of kind in San Diego?
Oh, it's the first of the kind, I believe, to be in the world.
In the world, first of a brick and mortar Wim Hof breathing workshop slash wellness studio, because you do more than that.
Yeah.
Got the info. So give me a quick sum up of what you guys do up there.
So it's a studio we proved out through our beta process at my house. So really the house was just to sort of prove out the idea that people wanted or were willing to actually do the breathing. We wanted to really, in essence, validate the process in terms of the experience that you have. And so when you came, we were actually just polling people. You came because Tatiana brought you.
Yep.
Bernard, right?
Yep, Bernard, yep.
And so
her husband, Bernard LaBelle,
exactly.
owner of California Sock Company. That's a little plug. Go ahead.
Such really cool people.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. We wanted to, we had this idea. It was kind of a field, right? We were wondering if we were going to cut the corn down and actually build the field, but we wanted to actually get an idea as to whether or not it would stick, like with people.
Yep.
So there was a little link that people would send around. It was like a speakeasy.
Yeah.
And so we invited 10 people to come to take a class. And then the only thing we asked them to do is we didn't tell them to come back. We didn't tell them to tell anyone. I've never told anyone to tell other people.
Yep.
Was to see if they would actually pass the link around, and we got them to fill out a survey. Like, what did you think about your experience? How was the instructor? How was the music? What do you think about the cold? And then a comment box. And so it was a very simple questionnaire, and we just wanted to get an understanding if we were going in the right direction.
Yep.
And so through sending out those links, we found that people were autonomously sort of passing this link around. So I'd get 4 random people every night that we held a class to come over, just out of nowhere. And never met them before. They show up to some guy's house, like you said. Kind of random, right?
Yeah,
like we
totally.
show up at 8:30 at night. This guy's asking me to pee on a stick. He's telling me about breathing, and I take him into the casita, breathe, and then go into cold plunge. I mean, there's a big level of resistance there.
Yeah.
And so we sort of proved out that model, which was actually really cool because people were saying, "Oh my God, you got to try this."
Yeah.
Right. And through the course of time, we refined our practice and what we were actually doing, whether it's the music you're playing, how you're saying it. We used it as this base point to be able to practice on people. And through that, we gathered a ton of information from people. There was rave reviews about it. They were telling everyone else. And so we knew that this was going to be a brick and mortar thing.
How far in?
How far in did we know?
How many sessions in, how many people in did it start to spread right away?
It was immediate.
Immediately.
It was crazy.
Wow.
10 people come, and the next week it was filled with new people.
Do you remember if Tatiana was one of the first 10?
Yes.
She was.
Well, she was probably, Tatiana probably would have been within the first 20, 30,
Do you remember who
people.
referred her by any chance?
No idea.
Wow.
I have no idea.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they just came randomly.
Yeah.
And so that was the cool part about it, is that we were vetting it with people that didn't know us, right?
Yeah.
So it's different if you have a practice and you start something and you know the people and they're kind of blowing smoke, right?
Yeah.
They're telling you because they don't want. But so these were random people that we had no idea. People from all walks of life, people from different countries. Just everyone was completely autonomous. So we had no way to sort of they weren't doing it. I actually would specifically tell them, listen, we're going to send a survey. Throw me under the bus.
Yeah.
Throw the practice under a bus. Tell us what we're doing wrong. I don't care what we're doing right. I want you to tell us what we're doing wrong, or what you'd like to see changed, or give us your honest opinion. Don't candy coat stuff.
Yeah.
So likely within the first 60, 70 people, we said this is a good base of independent people that would say, and we asked them if they would actually go to a studio, and they'd pay for it. And unanimously, it was like 98% of the people said absolutely they would pay for it, and they'd be regular members.
Where'd you find the first ones?
The first one were just 10 people that we knew.
Okay, got it.
But so 10 people for my partner, and then myself, and then it just went
right away.
Yes, right away. Within, like I said, within a week. And so we didn't, and I would wake up, and the next week would be completely filled from a class that I just had on Friday or on Thursday or Tuesday.
Yep.
And so it was really cool to see that sort of come to fruition. And then so at that point in time, we realized that it's vetted out. Yeah. And so we decided to really look at real estate, commercial real estate, and then pick the studio location. But then COVID hit.
That's right.
Yeah. So we were in the midst of, it was kind of funny because we had investors and all that kind of stuff. And the investors happened to be people that were actually coming in. They believed in the process. And we had taken this money, we had got a location, all this stuff. And then bam, COVID dropped.
Wow.
And so it was the best thing that happened to us.
I
think yourself as well, right?
Yeah, you and I talked about this.
Totally. Yep. You have to reinvent, recreate. I mean, meanwhile, everyone else is panicking, freaking out.
Correct.
Great. You gotta make the best. Squeeze every ounce of lemon out of the lemon you're given.
Yep.
And so we sort of group huddled and said, okay, where are we gonna go? Well, we've already amassed a good population of people that were really upset that we weren't actually having these classes anymore. So then they're like, how are we going to breathe? Like, I'm coming like once every week or once every other week. I need to get my breathe on. I need to get my cold on. Yeah. What are we going to do? And so at that point in time, we pivoted to like a digital sort of platform. So we're doing live podcasts or live breath work sessions. populated by a bunch of people. Everyone was freaking out, so people were looking for a way to reduce their stress levels, and they were isolated. So that became a really cool thing, and then so that kind of brought us to another area of the business that's more of a digital membership.
Yeah.
That we were already starting to populate, which is really cool. Doing recordings and stuff like that, going into a recording studio and recording sessions that were super clean and crisp, and it's like you were at a live class. And then there was an outlier that said, "Hey, listen, I know we're not supposed to do this, but is there any way if I get a group of friends together, could we do it outside on your deck, and we'll pay for it?"
Yeah.
And so we said, "Yeah, totally, let's do it." And so that person brought a group of people over. It was now a paid model. Like when you came in, it wasn't paid at all. It was just free.
Yep.
And so then we proved out this model of this pay model, and then you started coming to this Saturday and Sunday.
Coming in strong.
Coming in strong. In fact, you were one of them, and so you're bringing your peeps, right?
Yeah.
And then doing that, you now all of a sudden you're not dealing with 4 people. Now we're dealing with 15, 20, 25 people.
We were packing it.
And it was packing. It was totally packed. It was 25 people.
Yeah.
Out on my deck and on my lawn and stuff like that. And so we were doing those multiple times on Saturdays and Sundays and getting a big population of people to come. And the group dynamic was really cool, right?
Yeah.
And again, it was at a time when people were still heavily isolated.
Yeah.
They were still in
Totally.
like total COVID mode, right?
Yep.
And so, we felt like it was a safe way to actually get your community, get your tribe together, do something really cool, experiential, drop the perceptive stress, go into deep meditation, then do the cold and get all the health benefits. And so we did that for the remainder of COVID pre-vaccine, and so it was really, really cool. And then we started doing remote live events where companies were actually hiring us to get their peeps together and actually do this stuff. So yeah, it sort of unfolded from there.
Yeah, and I remember because we were my crew and I were doing a fitness challenge.
That's right.
And I contacted one of your girls and I said, "What if I bring my whole squad in on a Sunday?" Yeah. Remember you
own the 8:00 spot.
You specifically
designed.
You did.
I cursed you. 8:00. My neighbor. No, it wasn't me that cursed you. Actually, my neighbors. My neighbors were going, "Geez, man."
I know.
8:00 in the morning, and I'm sitting here bellowing, blaring music, and yelling super loud.
You guys came up with the time.
Oh yeah, I
would have taken later.
I get it.
I wanted later.
Oh yeah. I thought you were the morning guy.
Oh God, no.
Man, I was going. God, I got to get this thing ready by 8:00. I
No.
got to get it at 6:30. Put all the mats down.
8's
get all the
brutal for
speakers.
me.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, me too. So
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Now you
now
know.
I find out.
Now you know. But I remember bringing in the whole squad, and then I remember seeing on on social media some of the new people that we were bringing. I was seeing them on social media bringing in 3-4 people. So that spreading was just so great to see because, not only are you an incredible human being and one which I have a massive amount of respect for and absolutely love listening to your passion and how much you genuinely care about people and health and wellness. And just want you to know I'm completely wholeheartedly inspired by it. So not only am I just proud to be a part of the movement that you've created, but it was just great to see, man, that other people were picking up on it.
Totally.
And I get it, being a brick and mortar business now for 17 years, I can only imagine having investors' money and okay, what do we do now? But then you did some, So you pivoted so well, you went with it, and now your location is taking off. Right, I've noticed that you're actually changing. Speaking of which, you're sitting here yelling at me about the times. I'm noticing that Saturday AM class keeps getting earlier.
Oh yeah,
what's that all about?
And I'm teaching it, which I don't.
I know. I'm almost. I think I'm opting out at this point
Well,
because you're
no.
at like 7:30 at this point.
7.
7. That's
Yes.
right. You.
But
7:30.
there's weekdays. There's 6 a.m. classes, and we call them the roosters, right? And so there are people that are opposite of you and I that literally make it a routine.
Yeah.
If they get up at 5:00, doesn't matter what's going on. 5:00 is their time.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
they're up and around by 5:00. It's dark 30 for me. I'm still fast asleep, but I'm thankful that we have instructors and teachers, coaches. It actually are also roosters, and so they've been teaching the morning classes. And it's a really, really tight-knit community that show up at that time.
Yeah,
Like
of
it's
course.
the same people over and over again, right?
Yep.
And so when we do the breathing classes and the cold plunge after, that's the group of people that are full tribal, right? They know when one person is missing, and they hold them accountable. They're like, where were you yesterday? You know, and so it's kind of funny.
And I've noticed, because we've now been to the studio at least 4 or 5 times, I believe, and you kept making this class earlier, but I've noticed, and once you went to 7, I'm like, all right,
I'm out.
That's it. For the time being, but my point is, I remember to your point, going in when it was 7:30 and 8, there was the same half a dozen crew, the core, the nucleus of that class was identical every week. It was the same guys, and that one woman that goes, correct me if I'm wrong, every day.
Yeah,
every day. Is she the
Every
only
day.
one that goes literally every day?
No. I have people that come twice a day.
Twice a day.
Twice a day, early in the morning, and they're crushing me. They're going, you have to have a 6 a.m. class every single morning. And I can't relate, right? Because I'm not a rooster.
Yeah.
And so they're basically telling me I need, because right now we have Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 a.m. and then we have yoga, breathe, and plunge at 6 a.m. for the Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And they're like, well, you need to get this every single day. It's packed every single day. Come on. Yeah. You know, so they're trying to definitely get me to turn there. So.
But I'll tell you what, I'll say this, in not the early time, but if you were really close to me where I live or this store, I would probably be there at least 3 to 4 days a week.
For sure.
Because my what do we call this? The social media following, or whatever you want to call it. I do cryotherapy 5 days a week.
Oh, you do?
Because it's right down the road.
Got you. The convenience.
So I do cryo literally. I'm obsessed with it.
I love it.
5 days a week. I post it on every single session. So if you were close, bro. Speaking of which, and I know we're way ahead of putting the cart before the horse.
Okay.
When's are we going to have one down south? Either further down here, you think?
Yeah, I mean that's the hot button topic right now. Yeah, obviously, we're starting to. I mean, listen. At the end of the day, we obviously have proved this first location is. I'm calling it a beta because it's the first brick and mortar.
Absolutely.
So we're trying to obviously prove out this brick and mortar.
Yep.
Again, we've cleared the corn, we planted the grass, we built a field. And we found out that the players are showing. Yeah. So it's a field of dreams, right? And so we're really excited at the prospects of where we're going directionally because, let's be honest, we're opening up a Breathe studio in the middle of a pandemic. That is basically viral, and it's aerosol. Right. And so you're putting a bunch of people in a room breathing. So the cool part about it is the players still came. Yeah. And so even in the midst of all this chaos and craziness, we still have a studio, and it's pretty packed. Yeah. Like we're doing actually really well. So yes, clearly it would be, I always liken it to opening up a vegan or opening up a butcher shop in a vegan town. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so if we prove that out, it's kind of like New York. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. Yes. And so from a time frame standpoint, it's been really valuable for us because that's true. We realize, like, man, what happens when it's not, we're not in the midst of this pandemic, right? And it becomes endemic, right? Right. Which it seems directionally that's where it's going. Yeah. So we're kind of excited about that, right? And so yes, where do we open next is going to be a surprise. Yeah. So
are you already thinking about it?
Oh yeah, I mean we've been thinking about it since we opened the doors.
Of course.
I mean there's been constant back and forth as to what the direction is, but I'll just tell you this: it's going to be either down south, or it's going to be in Los Angeles. So Santa Monica. At the end of the day, these brands like this, brands like ours. It's a boutique fitness brand. It's filled with like this really every aspect of what it is that we're doing is based on like this really elaborate measure of science. Yeah. So every process that we do is really, really science based, and so we understand what's happening at every point in the process of what we're doing. And so we feel like this requirement, we feel it's necessary in order to get it out there, in order to get the brand larger, you have to go where the people, True. And this is, I hate to say this, and I don't want anyone to think that, we're really chasing celebrities, but in order to help you push something forward that's brand new, that's never been done before, you have to get the endorsement and the collective sort of celebration from people that are in a position to be able to promote you. Yeah, and
influencers, basically.
Influencers. I'm not an Instagram guy by any stretch, and so but I understand the metrics of it, and this is being done by every single celebrity.
Yeah.
Has become the new hot.
Yep.
Breathwork is the 2021 #1 fitness trend for men's health, and so we see this. We're in the front side of the wave.
Yep.
We're not catching it late. We're catching it early, and so we feel like everyone's looking for it. And again, what we've done, which I'm sure you would appreciate, is we've created this breathwork experience where it's not just breath work, it's guided breath work, and we've made it reproducible, and we've created this. You breathe, in essence, you guys. Just for context, so you know what we're doing. It's fitness for your respiratory system. So it's exercise.
Yep.
As you know, it's hard.
Oh, it was.
I mean, it's tough.
I was blown away.
Yeah.
It was intense.
Oh,
it is intense.
It is, and so you're breathing like you're running up a mountain.
Yeah.
Right. And you want to stay committed to it, because the way that I try to describe it to people, if I was going to give you a 30-second pitch, is I want you to think about Soul Cycle and meditation.
Yep.
And they see each other at a bar, and they go, I'm completely 100% opposite of you, but for some reason I'm super attracted to you. And they get together later on that night and they have a baby. So it is a fitness, but it's a deep meditation. Like, can you vouch for that?
Yes,
like in terms of
absolutely.
being able to get completely out of your head.
No question.
And so this is a form of meditation, and so it's an active meditation. And
Absolutely.
I think the big challenge that we're trying to sort of displace, or the thing that we're trying to rebrand, is this idea of what meditation is.
Yeah.
I think that people get really confused. They think meditation is just sitting in lotus position, and that's our first sort of thought of meditation. Well, meditation is not just that. Meditation is anything that puts you in the here and the now, that prevents you from actually thinking about past failures and future consequences.
Yep.
So Michael Jordan, Laird Hamilton, anyone who's doing really intensive stuff, really crazy stuff, they're meditating while they're doing it.
Yep.
And so they'll say it's the zone. The athletes will call it the zone, right? Other people will say flow state. These are all forms of meditation. So we're trying to rebrand this idea of meditation and take it out of just sitting cross-legged, and we don't want to have it as an ethereal practice. We don't want to embark on people's spirituality. You're going to find your own spirituality. So we don't want it to be an esoteric thing. We want it to be like you're going to take it wherever you want to go.
Yep.
And so whether you're Christian, whether you're Muslim, whether you're whatever, I don't care what it is, your breath, you're going to get into a state where you're going to see what you want to see, and you'll feel stuff. And if that takes you to a place of spirituality, then away you go, And so for us, it's a physical process, and we're starting to understand the science of it, which is really paramount. And we're starting to understand the relationship between every single form of exercise and why you exercise.
Yep.
Like, why would you put in that effort? Why would you do that? I know people, you're a very muscular fellow, okay? And I know there's an aesthetic quality to it, but I'm going to tell you what it does to you neurochemically, what working out does for you neurochemically, is the reason why you're consistently actually doing what you're doing. So please recognize, like any workout, I don't care what it is, whether it's surfing, whether it's running, whether it's lifting weights, whether it's yoga, it doesn't matter what kind of exercise it is. The benefit that you get from exercise, physical, is one aspect. But if you just got the physicality from it, and there was no change in your state in terms of how you felt emotionally, it wouldn't keep you engaged. It's impossible. So it's not just about the rock hard abs or the six pack abs or rock hard glutes or quads. That's a sidebar. What drives you to exercise is you can go in predictably every single time to exercise feeling low energy, feeling stiff, feeling sore, feeling overwhelmed, feeling angry, or just, not in the right place. And you can come out of exercise every time feeling exactly the way you want to feel.
Yep.
Do you notice that?
Yes.
You feel good.
Absolutely.
You feel satiated. You feel happy. You feel
100%.
cleansed.
Yep.
Right. And so what we're understanding is, and by the way, it absolutely makes you healthy physically. But if you go to a doctor, for instance, and the doctor says, you've clearly got anxiety, you've clearly got depression, and you say, and they offer you medications.
Yep.
And you say, well, doc, I don't want to take medication. Well, what are they going to tell you to do?
Take a hike.
No.
That's all I
They'll
got.
say, okay,
That's all I got.
Well, I'll tell you
Fair.
I'll tell you their go-to line. They'll say, well, you're gonna have to change your ways, and
Yeah.
you're gonna have to start exercising. That would be the first course of action.
But would
the
they
doctor
really
would take.
tell you that? Would a doctor
Listen,
actually
evolved
tell you
doctors would. You know,
Evolved.
we're not going to follow the old fat white doctors that smoke, right?
Fat-
Let's be honest.
Here we
we're,
go.
we're following the doctors that are a little bit more. They're taking more of a sensical approach.
Yes.
We all know, every single one of us, whether it's you, myself, or anyone that's listening, we all know that it doesn't matter what kind of exercise you do, you feel better
Yes.
about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can sit on the couch all day, and this is my line, right?
Yeah, I love this.
You've heard this.
I love it.
You can. We're at a time and place in our society where you don't have to move anymore. You don't have to do anything.
Right.
And it's the reason why North America has been largely plagued, almost more so than other countries, especially third world countries, in terms of death rates.
Yeah.
Because we live in a place where you literally don't have to do anything anymore. You can sit on your couch, especially with COVID.
Yep.
Okay. You can sit on your couch all day. Now you can work from there. You can get Amazon Prime to bring your swag. You can get Uber Eats to bring your food. You can watch TV. You don't have to move.
Not for nothing.
Yeah, and if you install a toilet on your couch, right?
Yeah.
You can go to the bathroom, so you technically don't have to move. And heaven forbid, you know this to be true. Listen, everyone's doing Zoom from work now, so you don't even have to shower anymore.
Yeah. You have to shower. You don't even have to put on clothes from the waist up.
Yes, exactly.
From the waist down, I should
So
say.
it's crazy,
Yeah.
right? And so we're at this place where our technology has led us to this time and this place where we really collectively do very little. And so when you're sitting on your couch and you're doing nothing, you're barely breathing. You don't know it,
Right.
but you're barely breathing. You're breathing, I say you're breathing to survive, you're not breathing to thrive.
Yeah.
So if you were in that state, and by the way, when you sit on the couch all day,
Yeah.
and you get up, you've done nothing. I don't
Yeah.
care even if your football team wins. When you get up after a Sunday of watching
Yeah.
football all day, do you feel good?
No.
You feel freaking like you're hungover.
Yeah. Terrible.
It's terrible,
Yeah,
right? You feel
yeah,
depressed. You feel
absolutely.
stiff. You feel sore. And if I was to get you, after you did that, to go walk around the block, you'd feel better.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you went for a 5-mile run or you pushed it in exercise, you did an F45 workout, whatever it is that your jam is, but you really gunned it. You really really pushed it. Then you'd feel significantly better than the walk. And the relationship there is on the couch, you're sitting to breathe, you're breathing to survive.
Yep.
And when you really push it, you're breathing to thrive. And so we start to understand that every form of exercise comes with an associated breath. The bigger the exercise, the more you have to breathe. The more you have to breathe, the more oxygen you take in. The more oxygen you take in, the impact that it has on your tissues at a cellular level is massive. And then what it does in terms of the release of neurochemistries.
Yes.
See, I think what people need to understand and recognize is, we've relied on pills. We've relied on other sources to be able to activate these neurochemicals.
100%. Get into that.
But the reality is that listen, we all have this CVS in our brains.
Yep.
Like, we have to know that we're pharmacists. We have to know that we can tap in and open the register at the CVS and tap into all of these chemicals that make you feel incredible, euphoric, like amazing. Like, but you have to work for it. It doesn't come free.
Right.
You can't sit on the couch and get that.
Yeah.
You have to do stuff in order to be able to get your body to release these chemistries. And when I say that, I'm talking dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine. I'm talking about melatonin, the opiate centers there, DMT, all of these, the endocannabinoid system. So people are smoking pot. Well, guess what? You got your own pot stash in your brain.
Yeah.
A plant can't make you high. No drugs make you high. You make you high. The drugs, what it does is basically when you take an exogenous, an outside medication to actually make you high, your body's making, it's really stimulating your body to release that very chemistry that it has within it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so we have to start looking at, pills and drugs and alcohol and pot as being drugs. They're catalysts to get your body to release the same chemistry, whether it's MDMA, it doesn't matter what, mushrooms, all of these things are reflexive responses by your body.
Yep.
And so if you didn't have a receptor site in your brain, it wouldn't make you high. That's why I can't smoke this table and it's not getting, or whatever this is, it'll probably make me sick. But, there's no receptor for this mad in my brain.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so we're starting to understand that the big measure, the big lever, the big switch that you can really, in essence, control a lot of these neurochemistries is by the way you breathe.
Yeah.
Because guess what? At the end of the day, we're animals. We forgot we're so quote unquote evolved and we've come so far that we forgot that we're animals and we have to move. And when you have to move, you have to breathe. And this is the very metric of, or the very essence of why exercise makes you feel so good.
Yep.
And we have to get back. We're hunters and gatherers by nature. And so what we're doing with all these sports and fitnesses is we're in essence pretending that we're cutting down trees. We're pretending that we're building houses. We're pretending that we're running after the deer, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what it is.
Yeah.
There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. That's what our body was designed for, created for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so we have to get back to this general understanding of what our body is for and how we can elicit or get our body to work for us rather than against us.
Yep.
And so everyone wants to take the easy path, but there's no easy paths for health.
No.
You can't do it.
That's the problem.
Well, listen, it's a massive problem because everyone wants the benefit, but they don't want to put in the work.
Exactly.
And so it takes work. And so when you come to a class, the breath work is a work, it's an exercise.
Yes.
It turns out actually that, we come as we're compiling all this elegant information and research on all the stuff that we're offering. All of these things have been done for hundreds, if not thousands of years around the world in different cultures.
Yeah.
And it turns out that as we peel through the research that's been done, it's been done for a long time, but it didn't make the annals of the newspaper, right? So it would stay in the scientific journal. It would never leave because no one was really interested in it. So what we started to find out is things like lung capacity, total lung capacity.
Yeah.
Like we talk about lung capacity and say, oh, I can breathe bigger, I can breathe small. No, your lungs are plastic. They can be as big as you want them to be unless you have a dysfunction, like a disease. So if you haven't gone past that threshold, you can make your lungs as big as you want them to, but you have to put in the work, which means you have to run, you have to lift weights, you have to surf, you have to breathe.
Yep.
And so what we understand now is the ultimate predictor of longevity. True story. This is Framingham study.
I love this one.
Framingham study is the biggest longitudinal study in the history of the United States, for sure, potentially the world. It's been done. We've been studying people in Framingham, Massachusetts since the 40s. Okay. And so it's like this petri dish. It's like the Truman Show, right?
Yep.
So you're taking this town and you're analyzing not just the people back in the 40s, but their kids and their kids and their kids, multiple generations.
Yep.
So here's what they found. Every single ounce of heart health, like any medication, any understanding of where the heart is going, came from the Framingham study. There's 3,000 published journals on it. Yeah, it's huge.
And what years were this?
1940 to the present. So they're being tested and analyzed from the 1940s through their entire life.
Wow.
And then the next generation,
No
So it's really, really cool. And so what we found through this Framingham study is that we've been trained and taught through media and other sources that the keys to longevity are what? Diet, exercise, genetics. It's the big three, right?
Yeah.
Well, this study unraveled this idea or thought that it became fact that your total lung capacity was the ultimate predictor of your longevity.
No kidding.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense, right? Because here's what ends up happening. Your lung capacity, it matures completely in the mid-30s. And then by the time you hit 50, what they found is there's a 17% reduction in your lung capacity.
When you hit what now?
When you hit 50.
50.
By the time you hit 50, there's a average 17% reduction in lung capacity.
If you're just living a normal life.
If you're total lung capacity.
Is that if you're exercising or if you're not exercising?
They didn't say that. They just basically said the average loss of lung capacity at 50, by the time you hit 50, so from the mid-30s to the 50, is 17%. And then after 50, it falls off a cliff. So the question would be
after 50.
After 50, there you go.
So what? 51?
Sure. 55.
Where are you
60.
at? Where are you at, by the way?
I'm 52.
You got me.
I got you. And guess what? It's all
big
rainbows and daisies after 50. Hey, dude, it's all perception. See, I'm 52 in chronological age, but I'm 27 in my brain. And it turns out that perception. 27. I'm 27.
I love that.
And the reason why...
All right, so give it to me again. So after 50, it drops off a cliff.
Drops off a cliff.
What does that mean?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what that means. I know exactly what that means.
Okay,
and when I say I know, I don't want to say I know, but I'm pretty good at filling in the gaps.
Yeah.
It's not universal across the board, clearly. There's some people that it doesn't drop off, and there's other people that it completely drops off.
So Chris back here, you're like, you probably don't even have lungs at this point at your age. Right? Oh, but he's Asian.
There you go.
So
Come on now.
They don't actually age. All right, give it
they
to me.
don't.
Sorry,
It's
give it
true.
to me.
So here's what I can tell you. It's a behavioral thing.
Okay.
So what happens? How do you age? Like, how do you age?
How? Day by day?
Yeah, sure. Entropy. We all know that we're getting older. Every
Yeah.
single moment, you're getting older. Every
Yeah.
single second, you're
Yeah.
getting older. But you're technically chronologically getting older. But are you getting older physically?
Okay.
At a cellular level, at a level of genetics, are you getting older? Because now we can test, right, to see
Yeah.
if someone, we can test their chromosome to see you can have chronological age and then you have a cellular age.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, go
I
look
like
that
this.
one up. That's crazy.
I like this.
So you have a chronological age, so you can have a 60-year-old living in a 30-year-old body at a cellular level, or you can have a 30-year-old living in a 60-year-old body, cellular.
And this could be tested?
Absolutely. It's called a telomere. It's the end of your chromosome. So they can
Where
actually.
do you get this test from?
You can, I think 23andMe now does it.
23andMe?
23andMe,
What's
and then
23andMe?
Ancestry.com. Have you not heard these people getting
No.
their genome tested?
No.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I'm out of the loop.
Well, okay, you're out of the loop. So you can actually get your entire genome tested. You can
Okay.
figure out your entire ancestral history and where
Yeah.
you're from and
Okay.
how much you got in you,
And that'll actually tell where you're at cellularly?
well, yeah, and they actually measure your telomeres. So the
Really?
telomeres are the ends of the
Telomere.
chromosomes, and they tell you what your cellular age is.
Got it.
So, and that is reflexive too, which means that if you are 30 and your cellular age is 60,
Ooh.
which happens all the time,
Yes.
right? You can actually rebound from that and actually regrow, in essence, your telomeres.
No kidding.
Yeah. So you can make lifestyle changes
Yes.
that will actually change that number.
Okay.
So it's kind of cool, as long as you haven't gone past the point of no return. So
And what's that? Like
I don't know.
Complete
It's-
obesity or
yeah, I mean, listen, it's everything, right? So when we talk about health, we look at external.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, health is far from just external, because you can see someone in front of you that's in incredible shape and they
Yeah.
have cancer, and they
Right.
could be 3 months away from death,
Yeah.
right? You can't tell because they look completely
Right,
normal,
correct.
and so you have to open up the box and see what you got inside.
Yeah.
And so so I think that's an important thing to understand. You have skinny fat, you have all these
Skinny fat,
terms
yeah,
that
yeah,
people put towards things. Health is, when we talk about in natural health, you talk about this holistic approach, right? And holistic really means like external and internal,
Yeah.
right? And so whether it's organs, whether it's tissues, whether it's cells, you're making a overall general health sort of. You're basically looking at people internally rather than just looking
Okay.
at their external.
got it.
And so that's what this telomere thing comes into play. And so what we found is you have to make lifestyle changes.
Yes.
Right. And it just so happens that that's really in essence what we're doing with what we're doing. Right.
Yeah.
We're combining fitness, giving people back that lung capacity, because if you breathe super deep
Yeah.
over the course of time, your vital capacity, your tidal capacity can change.
Yeah.
We know this. So this is science. You can absolutely change your lung capacity. It's malleable, but you have to be able to use them. And so what we're doing is when we're guiding these people through classes, I'm yelling at you guys in a positive way.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
positive affirmations. It's you're doing it obviously to super cool music.
Yep.
And so it'd be like a spin class.
Oh.
And so rather than pedaling the bike, you're using a different set of muscles.
Yep.
And so the muscles that we're actually using, just so you know, why you can't overlook respiratory muscles, your breathing muscles, you have between 10 and 12 pounds of respiratory muscles just waiting there to be used. So they're just waiting in the wings, waiting for you to use them. And metabolically, what happens when you actually start breathing is you're using these muscles of respiration. Whether you're activating them or you're loosening them, you're doing both simultaneous. You're physically using muscles to actually breathe because it's a workout, right?
Yeah.
But conversely speaking, what you're doing in conjunction with the exercise component to it, you're actually taking in all this oxygen. And now what we found, as you get more oxygen into your lungs,
Yep.
it's more oxygen into your arterial system, your blood supply.
Yep.
That becomes a higher level of saturation. That is the ultimate metric. It's the only way we know to be able to get people's blood chemistry to elevate. Because you came in, and
Yep.
we would do this thing when JD was coming in with his crew.
Croup.
I like
It's a
that
word.
croup cough. No, so you'd come in, and we'd get you to pee on a stick, right?
Yeah.
It's like hot dog on a stick.
Yeah.
awkward to ask that
That was,
question.
yeah,
Hey, come
yeah.
here, go pee on a stick, right?
I know.
And then we test your alkalinity.
Bizarre.
We mark down what that number was.
Yep.
It's urine chemistry, right?
Yep.
But you'd mark that. You'd mark down where you're at.
Yep.
And then after the breath work, you'd come in and you'd pee on
Yep.
the stick again. Then we'd check the numbers. And you'd see routinely 99% of the people changed and they
Correct.
became more alkaline.
That's
and so
right.
what we're measuring there is bladder chemistry. But you could assume that obviously what was happening in the bladder was also happening in the blood as well.
Yep.
In essence, what was happening is you were becoming so alkaline that your body was kicking that
Incredible.
to your bladder. Right?
Unbelievable.
So it was trying to debribe your blood because it was almost becoming too alkaline. Because you don't want to be too alkaline, so your body has to get rid of some of that. And so so we now understand that that breathing is the only way that you can actually increase your blood chemistry. And keep in mind, please, for anyone out there listening that's drinking alkaline water, eating alkaline foods, crush it. Keep going. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, get into that a little bit. 'Cause there's a lot of people doing it.
I don't have a problem with that at all. Listen,
Okay.
I'm wise enough to understand that science changes every single day.
Yeah.
You remember when coffee was good for you? It's not good for you. Eggs
Yeah.
are good for you. Don't eat the yolks.
Right.
Eat the yolks. Eat
Yeah.
nothing but the yolks. I mean, it's this constant.
Yeah.
Science is the last best guess. So right now, here's what the research is actually saying. The research is actually saying that there's no supplement, there's no food, there's no water that actually changes your blood chemistry. Just so you know, your blood chemistry is always tightly regulated. It's one of the most tightly regulated systems in your body. You're always alkaline, so it's between 7.35 and 7.45. But we do know there's a spectrum there. There's a high side, 7.45, and a low side, 7.35.
Yep.
And science and research knows that we want to be more on the high side of the rainbow as opposed to the low side of the rainbow.
Right.
Because they say your body's acidic. Well, it's never acidic. It's less alkaline.
Got it.
But the low side is associated with things, inflammatory conditions, autoimmune conditions. So, heart disease and all the autoimmune conditions. Cancer is associated with a lower alkalinity, blood alkalinity.
So to interject here real quick. So you're saying that the body's actually never acidic. It's just less alkaline.
Unless you have a metabolic disorder. So unless you have a diagnosed metabolic disorder, it's always alkaline. It cannot live in an acidic state for any period of time.
No kidding.
Never. So when people are saying acidic, I kind of get cringy.
Yeah.
Because your body can't be there. It can't live in there. It can dip into it for a short period of time, but then it has to come back out. Just like it can dip into a higher level of alkalinity, but it has to come back down. So it's tightly regulated. It's a buffer system.
Yeah.
Right? You need to be within those parameters. If you're not going to live. So you can't live alkaline, hyperalkaline, and you can't live in acidity for any period of time.
And so, but you said the acidity thing, unless they had an autoimmune, what was it now?
No, it wasn't autoimmune. You'd have to have a metabolic disorder.
Metabolic disorder.
Yes.
Give me an example for that.
Well, any metabolic disease.
Okay.
Any metabolic disease. Diabetes can be a metabolic disease, right?
Got it. Okay.
And so that blood acidity can, your pH can change. And so we want to be conscious of just knowing that up front. Because I like to bifurcate that or stress that because, again, there's so much speak on acidity and alkalinity. Right?
There
I
is
think
a lot.
It's important for people to understand. And if you understood the way that the digestive system worked,
Yeah.
okay, then you'd understand why the supplements, the foods, and the waters wouldn't make you alkaline. Because the pH of your stomach is as acidic as it can get.
Right.
It's hydrochloric acid.
Yeah.
What else is going to break down that 32-ounce porterhouse?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, baby. Okay, so can I tell you, if you were completely alkaline, that steak would come out whole.
Oh God.
Okay, it would be hard.
Yeah. it'd be
Okay,
terrible.
so obviously you want your stomach to be highly acidic so it can break down all the proteins, it can break down the fats, the carbohydrates, and all that stuff, right? And so it makes perfect sense that if you pour 9.0 alkaline water in your stomach, it's probably not going to stay alkaline for very long.
Yeah. That
Right?
makes
It's going to be
sense.
buffered by the acid, and it's a lot more powerful, and your body's constantly regulating because it needs that acidity level to be down to break down those things. And so, in essence, if breathing becomes the only way that we can actually increase our blood alkalinity,
Yep.
now we're starting to sort of go in this direction of now what are the implications behind that? So yes, we know that oxygen provides ATP, right? We need it to be able to boost our mitochondrial engines, right? This is oxygen translates into ATP, which is the cellular currency for your actions, for you to be able to move. So we want to stoke out those mitochondria, right?
Yep.
And they need oxygen to do so. So it's cellular respiration. This is how we work. And so we've got that. But then I think what's yet to be proven is the alcohol, and I think it will be at some point in time, is as you become more alkaline, your blood chemistry, what role does the pH of your blood play on the release of all of this neurochemistry? Is there a role? Now that's the unknown.
Still unknown.
Totally still unknown. But I believe that that's going to play a little bit of a role, and this is the reason why you feel so predictably good every single time you go and exercise. Not only are you stoking the fire, providing your body with all of this oxygen, you're increasing the alkalinity, and what we now understand is that this release of all this neurochemistry probably plays a role with breathing, okay, that you can get into all these different states of just being here. Like if you've never been in a deep place of meditation, it's pretty wonderful, right?
It is.
And meditation, again, is just getting out of this prefrontal cortex, this evolved center of your brain where you're not thinking about yesterday and tomorrow. And so you're just there. And it's a process with rhythm. It's a process with oxygen. It's a process of being sort of preoccupied with a bunch of other things, i.e. me yelling at you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I.e. the really super loud experiential music.
Yep.
And so you get into this, we call it a drift state, where you're just flowing. And the only thing you can think about is your breath and staying with me, because I'm there each and every breath, right? And so I'm coaching this where it's scientific. We put it together in a very scientific sort of way in terms of how spread apart each breath actually physically is. And so we've come up with this, we'll call it an elegant process that allows anyone to come in, do it, and get the same reproducible events or effects each and every single time, which is really cool.
And I'll tell you what, man, and I love this class. I can't wait till round 2 or round 3, because that's where my body starts tingling.
Yes.
Where things just start you're just you're out of your head. I start anticipating when we're gonna hold our breath. So
the breath hold is pretty rad.
And describe give these guys, explain the breath hold, the fact that it's not on the inhale, it's on the exhale, and how that works. How's that even possible? Because I remember my first class, I just did what you told me.
Yeah.
And I was like, whatever, okay, that's great. But not knowing how long we actually held our breath on the exhale.
Yes.
Get into that scenario right there.
So the breath hold, why do we do it? Well, during the course of each round is about 40 breaths.
Yep.
It vacillates. If we want to go deeper, we go a little farther.
Explain the deep breath here. Get into it.
The deep breath is it's through the mouth. Why the mouth? Because we're trying to elevate your nervous system. So everything that we do is all about your nervous system. Everything. And so when we talk about the nervous system, and it's very common, in our society to think that stress is bad. Right?
Yeah, get into that.
We're told
I love when you talk about this.
We're told stress is bad. We have to run away from it.
For sure.
We have to be totally stress-free in order to be happy. I'm going to tell you that you need stress in order to be happy.
Yep.
Outside of people, the only thing that you need in order to reach deep happiness is some measure of stress. We have to redefine what stress actually physically is. Because if we don't, we're going to be challenged. We're going to have a problem. Stress is really measured on your nervous system, right? So your nervous system is the structure that really, for all intents and purposes, connects your brain to your body.
Yep.
The physical from your neurological. And so it's this tether that actually is a very amazing, it's the most amazing structure that you don't really hear that much about. And when we talk about the nervous system, we talk about, like everything else in life, we talk about polarity, the opposites.
Yep.
On one side of the nervous system is fight, flight, freeze.
Yes.
This is the area of the nervous system where your nervous system's completely dialed all the way up. It's at the highest level, and people freak out there. You don't do well in fight, flight, freeze. It's designed from an evolution or biological or creation standpoint to be able to be able to get you away out of a really dangerous situation.
Yep.
So whether it's you encountering a great white shark, a pack of wild wolves, whatever is going to put you in immediate threat of danger, it's designed to take the electricity, push it to your muscles to be able to get out of there. Okay? And it's very useful for that, but we can only be there in a very short period of time. We make really irrational decisions if we're there too long.
Yeah.
Watch any horror movie and you'll see people making really bad choices, right? When they're scared.
Yeah.
So on the other side, you've got parasympathetic. Parasympathetic is the other side of the nervous system where it's dialed all the way down. The ultimate definition of that is sleep. So that's where your body rejuvenates, rests, and recovers. And you need sleep.
Yes.
And by the way, it's 8 hours.
Right.
To our point of 7 a.m., right? We
Yeah.
don't want to get,
Yeah.
I want to be able
Yeah.
to sleep in so I can get my, get my 8 hours.
Eight's
in.
the holy grail, right?
8 is the holy grail. It's not 7. I know people think they can actually go longer, but I'm going to tell you that's been proven out that you don't function properly. You may think you do, but you just don't. Neurologically, functional MRIs, we see people that get less than 8 hours of sleep actually perform poorly.
Let me hit on this real quick
Sure.
because obviously that's the name of my business, Real Deal Sleep.
Yeah.
So I'm obsessed with tracking my sleep.
Oh,
Okay.
right.
And I'm noticing that I don't.
Aura?
We're not going to get into that.
Okay, yeah.
Because I got the Whoop, but I don't like the way it sits on my wrist.
Totally.
It's there.
They got to make a big boy Whoop.
Yeah. I use the Fitbit.
Yeah,
And I'm
perfect.
comfortable with it. I like the way it tracks. Anyway, that's a side note.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that, and everybody has to realize this, because everybody thinks that the amount of time that you're in bed is the amount of sleep you're actually getting. And that's not true.
Totally.
Because every time I track mine, I'll be in bed for, let's say, I'll just use this as an example, 8 hours. Sorry, let's say I'm in bed for 7 hours. I go to bed at 11 p.m. I get up at 6 a.m. Or let's say something that's 8 hours.
Yeah.
But I actually only slept for it's usually an hour less
Sure.
than the amount of time I was actually in bed.
Yeah, deep
right?
sleep. Yeah.
Which
sure.
is actual sleep where you're not tossing and turning.
Yep.
And then we break this down further into the sleep cycles, which are deep sleep cycles, which is the physical body, which is where the physical body repairs itself.
Exactly.
And then the REM sleep, which is the brain
Yep.
or the thoughts,
Yep.
which repairs the brain,
Yep.
which is usually anywhere from 10 to 12 to 15% of your sleep.
Yeah.
So these are low numbers, and they go up and down your entire thing. What was I getting at? So you're telling me that, let me use this as an example. So I would have to go to bed for 9 hours to get 8 actual hours of sleep. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
Are you saying 8 hours? Because
It's a
do
non-negotiable
you track your sleep?
I don't, but I sleep like a log. So
You sleep like a
generally
log.
speaking, yeah. So
Do you wake up
generally
in the middle of
speaking,
the night at all?
Never.
God, that's unbelievable.
Never.
That is
I'm
unbelievable.
so fortunate. I've never had issue with sleeping. At
I
all.
drink
can
so
sleep
much
on a
water.
fence post.
I drink so much water that I
The
wake up
bladder
at
thing.
least one time to go to bathroom.
Totally.
And then my mind starts flowing on everything that's going on. And these are positive things. It's
I
never
got it.
life and my podcast, the business, but sometimes it is stressful because everybody can identify with this cash flow,
Everything.
bills,
Got it.
and then I can't get the brain.
To shut off.
And then I put the massage on my sleep system, found it Real Deal Sleep, by the way, and I'm out in 5 minutes. Anyway, that's another side story. But my point is, you're telling me 8 hours is the holy grail.
8 hours is the holy grail.
So even 7 hours is, you just give me the
You
statistics
see,
behind that?
Well, what they found is really that 8 hour becomes this benchmark. In fact, you could go a little bit more than 8 hours too.
Yeah,
And it's
minimums
still-
become maximums.
Yes, pretty much.
Right.
And
Okay.
that's like supplementation. That's like everything, right?
Yes,
So everything
yeah,
becomes this.
right.
When you look at RDAs or daily allowances of
Yes,
supplements and all
yeah,
this stuff, it's
yeah.
the minimum dosage
Right.
that's required
For
in
like a
order to get-
sedentary person.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so we got to stop looking at these things like 100%
Yes.
means like you're getting everything you need. No, you're getting everything you need to prevent dysfunction of
Right.
something, right? So when you talk about vitamin C, if they say it's 100%, well, that's to prevent you from getting scurvy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so vitamin D, well, that's the amount that you need to prevent you from getting rickets, where your bones are bending,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
so we have to look at sleep in the same context.
Yep.
And so we always, unfortunately, we have a tendency of beating down this side of the lowest amount and using that as this benchmark. And so
Got it.
you should actually use the higher side to determine where you should actually be in everything, right?
Makes sense.
So I will tell you this, which is super fascinating. There is an amount of, you can actually oversleep, and oversleeping is bad for you too.
Really?
Yeah. True story.
And how do you know? How do you know if you're oversleeping? Like, what are you talking about? 10 hours or something?
Well, yeah, I think that it implies probably 10 hours plus, and it's a law of diminishing returns.
Okay.
So you can actually oversleep, and it has a detrimental impact.
What kind of detrimental impact?
Well, you've done it before. You've overslept before.
Yeah.
You go to Vegas, you're on a
Yeah.
cruise ship, and there's no light, right? And
Yeah.
you sleep for 12 hours, and you wake up and you feel like you're punch drunk.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's something that you need, you need waking hours as well.
Yeah.
And this is what I was going to get to, is this idea, like every single moment of every single day is associated with a certain amount of stress. And by the way, most of the stress you feel during the day,
Yeah.
because I was talking about the polarity of things, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's,
Yeah.
sleep, which to your point is like absolutely non-negotiable, which is great. It's a great business model, right?
Yep.
The other thing that people need to know is that there's this huge amount of your nervous system in between the two polarities.
Got it.
That for all intents and purposes, those are your waking hours.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you, an elevated nervous system is very, very important for your happiness.
Interesting.
So if you don't have stress in your life, you're not happy. In fact, if you don't have stress, you can't be happy.
Really?
Well, okay. So I'm going to put it in I'm going to put
give it to me.
I'll give it. I can put you on the beach of your dreams. I can put you on an island. You have 9 Bugattis, a 67 bedroom mansion, everything you want access to, everything.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything.
Right.
You have access to it all. Everything you've always dreamed
Everything
about.
you possibly could want or need.
Everything. And those are the things we chase, right? Those are the
Correct.
things we
That's
want.
right.
We were told that we need to have this to make you happy,
Yes.
this to make you happy, this to make you happy. But it comes down to this thought of essentialism, like what is essential for happiness? And it turns out that the only thing that actually truly makes you happy is people and stress.
That's it.
That's it. Would you agree you need people?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
How important is your tribe to you? How important is your community to
everything.
you? So if you don't have that, I don't care. Even if you were on this isolated island, even the people that you don't like, you'd want to be around if the other people weren't there.
Yeah.
That's how essential people are for your happiness. Even the people that you dislike the most, because we don't want to be around everybody, right?
Yeah.
But even the people that you actually don't like being around, you'd want to be around them because something is better than nothing. Somebody is better than nobody.
Yeah.
And so we have to understand that our community, our tribe, our people are the ultimate measure of happiness, that all the material things will not provide you any happiness, any long-standing, deep happiness, I call it. Like deep happiness. The other thing that actually is essential,
Joy, inner joy.
Yes,
Joy.
for sure.
Yeah.
That can't be thought. You have to feel it.
Because happiness, I tapped into this recently with our church. Happiness is kind of circumstantial. It comes and goes. Joy is internal.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and I can tell you the only way you can actually benchmark or measure that is if you've had the opposite.
Yes.
Which is interesting, right?
Very interesting.
Because can you be happy without feeling sad? Can you be sad without feeling happy? And so you have to have the opposites. You have to. Do you like good food?
Love it.
Love it. Me too. You know why you like good food?
Makes me feel good.
Yeah, but it's because you've eaten terrible food before. Yes, the days of like living on college campus and eating top ramen, and that's what you feasted on, or Michelina's like fettuccine Alfredo, 99 cents in the freezer section. I can tell you that you've gone through.
Yeah, that's true.
You've gone through the sticks of not eating really good food. So you have a sort of a measuring stick.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why you appreciate good food. If you just ate oatmeal all day, then you would have no understanding of what good food was.
There's no context.
So I can tell you that happiness, joy, all these things come and go, and it's a cycle, and you want it to be a cycle. You want to feel sadness. So when it's like being sick, right?
Yeah.
When you get sick, it feels terrible to feel sick.
Yep.
But man, when you start feeling better, how good does that feel?
Great.
Because you know what it feels like to not be sick.
Yes.
And then, because you just came off being sick, right?
Then you appreciate
exactly what
being
you got.
healthy and feeling good.
And then hopefully that inspires you to continue to be healthy, so you don't go back there until you let off the lever, and all of a sudden you burn the midnight candle, you do stupid stuff, you eat terrible, you don't do healthy practices, and then you get sick again, you remember again, and it brings you back to a place of actually maintaining your health, just so you don't go back there. Right?
Totally, yeah, 100%.
So what's fascinating is so people make you happy. They're not. It's non-negotiable. The other thing that's essential for stress. And so when I talk about stress, I'm not talking about fight, flight, freeze.
Yeah.
In fact, in our society, in our culture, very seldom are people in a fight, flight, freeze sort of situation.
Before, I remember you using a different fight, flight, or something.
Fight, fight, fright.
Fight, flight. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's interchangeable, right? Depending on who you're talking to.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, fight, flight, freeze is not a white shark. It's not a pack of wild wolves. It's not going to kill you. It's perceptive stress.
Yeah.
That's why I don't even like to use the term, are you stressed?
Yeah.
Because you're creating this stuff in your
perceptive.
brain. It's perceptive. Do you think news is going to kill you? Do you think the reason why you should get into this elevated nervous system because you're in traffic and you're late for something, is that going to kill you?
No.
What about an argument with your spouse, or disagreement with your kids, or a boss, or whatever? All these things push us into what we perceive to be an elevated nervous system. We're driving ourselves there, but we're not supposed to be there. Like it's not going to kill you.
Yeah.
So the middle area of stress is this. It's called hormetic stress, hormesis. It's good stress.
Yeah. Stress
that's good for you. Most of the stress you face during the course of your life is hormetic stress. So, in fact, I'm going to tell you that you wake up because of stress, just so you know.
Yeah.
So you get out of one of these awesome beds, mattresses, right? Because of stress. What happens is you're sleeping and you have a window open in your room.
Yep.
Or you can see the sun come up.
Yep.
And as soon as that sun comes through, that light goes through your eyelid into your light ball, and it tickles a stress hormone called cortisol. So cortisol all of a sudden starts to rise.
Yeah.
The sun goes, wake up, cortisol.
Yeah.
And so it turns on, and now that's a stress hormone. That starts this initiated process of you going from a super deep sleep, real deal, mattresses,
real
deep
deal
sleep,
right?
A deep sleep to wakefulness. And now all of a sudden you can't get back to sleep because your brain and your body are going, get the heck up.
Yep.
You have to be functional. You have to get stuff done. There's a lot of crap to be done. And so now cortisol gets you out of that warm and cozy bed. And if you're smart, what you'll do is you'll wake up and make your bed in the morning. This is a behavior, right?
Okay, give it to me.
It's not just a Navy SEAL thing. It's not a military thing.
Yeah.
But they understood it.
Yep.
It's chemistry, because making that bed requires energy.
Okay.
It requires an action.
Yep.
And in order for that action to happen, there's a threshold that has to take place physically and mentally. And what has to happen is you have to be motivated to do something.
Yep.
Motivation comes from stress. Motivation to do something, to move forward, to fall forward, to actually start your day, to continue your day through the course of the day, is all based on stress. It pushes you in the direction that you want to go.
Yep.
And so in order to make the bed, you need something called norepinephrine, which is adrenaline in your brain. It also requires adrenaline in your body. Does it require a lot? No, because it's just a small action. It's not that much, but it needs a little bump.
Right.
So you make your bed and you get a little shot of norepinephrine and epinephrine.
Yep.
Okay, adrenaline.
Yep.
And then if you finish your bed, you finish a task. It's a small task, but it's a task nonetheless.
Yeah.
And when you finish any task, you get a reward, and that's dopamine. So in essence,
so the original hormone release is because you're physically active?
Yes. Well, the original one is just to get you out of bed.
Yeah, right.
That's cortisol.
Right. But making the bed.
Making the bed is a physical action, but it's also a mental action, because you can disregard it and actually walk away and not make the bed at all. But you don't feel as the same measure of complete.
So is it because you're like performing a task and completing a task?
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes. It's a task.
Not the actual physical action.
Well, it's a physical activity and it's a task.
Okay.
Because it's easier. The easier thing to do would just be walking away from your bed.
Which I do most of the time.
Yes. Okay.
And
But if you made your bed, try it. If you make your bed, you feel good about yourself. You feel this kind of like, oh, I started my day with something. You see this with very successful people. What do? What's the commonality between a lot of successful people, the vast majority of successful people? What is the relationship between most successful people?
They get stuff done.
They wake up super early.
Yes.
Okay. The roosters that I'm talking about.
Yep.
They come at 6 a.m. That means they have to get up at 5. And by the way, they're coming, so they have to get their butts out of the bed. They have to make their bed. I guarantee you they make their bed.
Yeah.
So unless their wife or their husband.
You should take a poll on this.
Okay. It would be interesting, right?
It would.
So I'm going to tell you that they start their day with one of the most difficult things.
Yeah.
The resistance.
Breathing.
Well, listen, it doesn't matter. It's also the cold, right? It could be exercise. You go lifting weights. How good do you feel when you wake up super early and you go lift weights?
Fantastic.
How's the rest of your day?
Great.
Why?
Because I had that shot of
Bam.
norepinephrine.
It took energy.
Yeah.
You didn't want to do it. It was resistance, and you passed that resistance. You got over that barrier.
Yeah.
You climbed over that mountain, which is your bed. You got up. It's dark 30. It's dark. You got to the gym. You got it done. And by the way, you got home at 8 o'clock, and you were already done with like a really challenging exercise.
Yep.
And so everything else from that point forward is easy, physically, but the resistance neurochemically, it's not there because you're happy.
Yeah.
You're happy doing whatever you need to do. You show up better. Like when you come in here after you work out, you show up as a better human being.
Oh, yeah.
You want to be here.
Yep.
You want to interact with people because you feel good about yourself. And so in essence, this bed making thing is a small portion of that, right?
Yep.
So you do something, it's an action, it's an activity, and then you get a shot of dopamine. And then the likelihood of you now taking that and carrying that forward and actually taking on a bigger task, and then getting a bigger shot of dopamine, and then a bigger task and a bigger shot of dopamine, it just becomes this trail where you start your day off with something and you're climbing the mountain, right? And so if you start and you've already climbed the mountain, then it's all downhill from there. Meaning in a positive way, meaning that everything else becomes easy. These tasks that you see as insurmountable, that you don't want to do, taxes, or you have this, you have to restructure, so whatever it is that's challenging, it becomes easy because you started with the most difficult. And that's where the breath work and the cold is really good. When I do it in the morning, and listen, I've had multiple people, they would, I'm trained Navy SEALs, and people that want to be better at the cold. There was one particular guy that was coming over at 6:30 in the morning because he was doing a Wim Hof thing out in Poland. He was doing the famous Wim Hof climb up Mount Schnitzke, and he didn't want to make an ass of himself in the cold. So he's like, you got to show me how I can do this, because he was going to be going in for long periods of time. And so I said, okay, what about this time? It didn't work. He was a CEO of this company, and so he was the riser. He's the guy that he's called a superpower showing up. And so it was the death of me, because he'd be showing up at 6:30 at my house, and it was dark. And I didn't want to get in the cold. No. Because I get in the cold at night. And so, but when I got in the cold twice a week with him for a period of like 2 months, early in the morning, man, every single day was phenomenal, like magical. And this is where the tribal thing comes together. Your church, for instance, by the way. Listen, the reason why you're so galvanized with that group of people is because they're like-minded people. They're gathering together. Again, this idea of community is the ultimate benchmark of happiness. You need it. It's necessary. It's essential. It's not even negotiable. So yeah, I'm going to tell you that stress, we have to look at stress differently. We have to view it differently. We have to understand that stress is actually good for us. So we have to perceptively recognize that we need it in our lives, that we have to control ourselves from going into that fight, flight, freeze. And now what we understand, it's the way you're breathing that determines whether or not you're going to go to a place that you don't want to go. That's that sensation of feeling overwhelmed. When you get stressed, when you get overwhelmed, okay, and that you're really dialed up, you have to pull it back down, and the way you can do that is by breathing. Because you forget to breathe when you're stressed.
We pretty much
hyperventilate, which means you're not getting any oxygen.
Almost no oxygen.
None. It's Bohr effect. You need CO2 in order for oxygen to go from your blood into your tissues, and so people panic. And when they panic, again, this is, I always say, this is where superheroes are made, right? This is where greatness is made. We have a tendency of looking at people, our heroes, the people we look up to that are doing really crazy stuff. We think they're superheroes, but in all actuality, what they've done is they figured out how to remain calm under really intensive situations. And how you do that is they have cued in innately, because they probably weren't told. They figured out this whole concept of slowing things down, slowing their breath down. If you slow your breath down, it lowers your heart rate. If you slow your breath down during the day, all this stuff can be going on, and you're just cruising through. This is the ultimate, by the way, the Navy SEAL thing is hilarious. When you see these Navy SEALs, you think they're going to look like you. They don't.
No.
They're shorter, pudgier kind of guys most of the time. The brutes don't make it through because they're trying to out-muscle it, out-fitness it. It's a brain thing. And so there's this group consolidation, and they find that there's coherence between these teams, these SEALs teams. And what they do is they all lower each other's heart rate. They're calm under really intensive situations. That's what the military is looking for. People that don't fold. People that don't give up. And in order to get through really stressful situations, you have to be able to figure out how to tap into your breath, and that's the only way that you can consciously control your nervous system. Therefore, your heart rate. Therefore, every other response that you actually have. And so, this idea of having a better relationship with your nervous system, having a better understanding of what stress actually is, putting it where it should be, is critical. And then understanding how you can control and regulate it. And it turns out it's your breathing. And so, we, as a brand, we actually elevate your nervous system and put you in this area instead of it fight, flight, fright, or flight, fight, freeze. I call it excite and delight. So it's elevated, but it's not going to push you into that area that you don't want to go. It pushes you into this area that athletes, again, call the zone. Other people call it the flow state, where it's meditation. It's dynamic meditation. So I think it's really super important to recognize that stress is actually really good for you. Because when I found out stress was good for me, it was a game changer. And now I knew it intuitively because I always did things that were very stressful. I'm a risk taker.
How long ago did you figure this out?
Well, I started doing ultra marathons 15 years ago, and I hate running. And there's
funny.
nothing more stressful than being 20 hours into a run, and realizing that you're in the middle of nowhere, you're on a mountain somewhere, it's completely dark, you're by yourself, and you're dying. I mean, you're hating it physically, right? And emotionally, you're hating it too. And pushing through that. The reason why I love that is because it's stress, but stress, if you overcome these things, these challenges, you become more confident. When you become more confident, you try different things. You really lean into life, right? And that's what we all need to understand. We can't run away from stuff. We have to run towards stuff.
Yep.
Right? And the only thing we run away from is, again, the old fat white doctor that smokes. We don't want people to take care of us. We want to be able to learn to take care of ourselves, not just in our brain, but in our body. And so we want to be able to be in control, and you're in control. Everyone's in control. That's the truth is. The fountain of youth is simple. It's you.
Yeah.
Do you want to live older? Do you want to be free of sickness and illness? And do you want to stay in shape? Do you want to be happy? Then go.
Yeah. Do it.
Do it. Just do it, Nike, right? I mean, just freaking do it.
Yep.
Like if you start to understand that you have the capacity to be able to make your own story, tell your own story, and do whatever it is you want to do, and stop believing other people that have failed.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're doing.
That's it.
We believe other people that have failed. How freaking ridiculous is that?
Totally.
Right? And so for me, I think that's a huge part of what we're doing. You asked me about the breath holds. What is a breath hold?
Give me the breath hold.
So what's happening during the course of the breath work itself?
And by the way, real quick, while we're on the stress thing, so the stress the perceptive stress, are you saying that's pretty good too? The perceptive stuff, like we're worried about the bills or going here.
Can be. It motivates you, right?
Okay.
If you have a bill,
then
you have to make money to pay that bill.
Yes.
And so that motivates you to do something. And hopefully you don't freak out when you see the bill and you turtle. Okay. Hopefully you say, okay, that bill's that bill. I got to pay that bill. I knew I was going to pay that bill.
Yeah.
And so I've got to do the right actions. I've got to make sure that I make the right choices to be able to pay that bill. Right.
Yep.
And it's going to motivate you. If you have your mortgage payment, you're not going to turn your back on that. Right. I mean, you're a businessman, you're an entrepreneur. And so listen, what there's many things that motivate you, helping people, all these things, right? But then there's this background thing that you're not looking at directly. You're looking at it indirectly and realize you already know that you have to make those payments.
Yeah.
So is that motivating? Yeah. Because you don't want to be on the streets living in a car.
Yeah.
Okay. So so yes, some stresses are really good because they make you get off of your ass, off the couch or out of bed in the morning. It prevents you from being warm and cozy, and you challenge yourself. Yep. And you're going to make it happen because if you want it, it's there. Take it.
Take it.
It's yours. Anything you want is yours.
And is the idea to hopefully have better stresses like working out?
For sure.
Right?
For sure. Well, listen, better stress is when you actually do the hormetic stress, the good stress.
Okay, there it is.
When you have good stress.
What's it called again?
Hormetic.
Hormetic.
Yes, or hormesis.
Hormesis.
Yes.
Okay.
So hormetic stresses are paramount and critical because they provide you a reward system. You end up getting a better relationship with the sensations because they're forms of stress, but it's not as mentally taxing.
Right.
But if you do the physical stuff.
Got it. Okay. Got it.
Then all of a sudden the mental stuff, the chatter goes away. See, we write our own story, right? False narratives.
Yes.
So we think something is what it is, but it's never what we expect it to be.
Right.
Right? I mean, we paint these stories and pictures ourselves.
Yeah, we do.
And so, but you end up looking at life significantly better when you do good things for yourself, to yourself.
Yes.
Right? So you see, listen, I can look at something and you could see something. We can look at the exact same thing. It can make me laugh and you cry or vice versa.
Yep.
It's the exact same thing. Where are we in time and space? Right? Perceptively.
Yeah.
And so the person who actually did something really good for them is automatically is in this positive place.
Yep.
But you've had it before. You wake up in the morning, you stub your toe, and it hurts like a son of a gun, and the rest of your day is kind of shattered because it starts negative. Yeah. It starts this cascading effect. Well, positivity is a cascading event as well. Right. So if you start with something positive, then it's going to continue to be positive if you start with it. Yeah. Positive. Now, you may hit resistance along the way, but you've already had so much positive that you jump over the canyon. You don't fall in it.
Now, does anxiety fall into this? Like people
Absolutely.
that have
What is anxiety?
What is it? It's just perception, right?
Yes. Yes. It's not having control and regulation over your nervous system.
That's it.
Pretty much. I mean, I don't want to sit here and you know,
Right.
I mean, we label it in so many different ways. I'm going to tell you that, you know, certainly it's a case by case situation.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't want to sit here and take away from someone that's suffering deep anxiety or
Right.
intensive
Yeah,
anxiety.
yeah.
I think we've all experienced anxiety. We've all felt it.
Of course.
And so there's different measures of it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, most people, you know, could there be a biological component to anxiety? For sure.
Yeah.
But can you rewrite that story?
Yeah.
I think so. If you did the right things. That's why I started with this whole idea of the doctor, you go in, they can give you medication for anxiety, but you don't want to do it.
Okay, so
What would they tell you?
on that note, that's
Yes.
what actually wanted to get there.
Yes.
Medication.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on it for people that have anxiety or let's say deep depression? And maybe that's another. We're off on a different tangent
It is,
here,
but it's the same family, and I can
It's
certainly
same
comment on
family.
it. Yeah.
And give me your thoughts on the fact that I think, and I'll say I can say majority
Yes.
of what do we call regular Western docs
Yeah.
are just prescribing actual medication for anti-anxiety, anti-depression.
Mhm.
Give me your thoughts on this.
I think that we are now in a culture, and I don't think I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I'm not gonna
No,
go down the
come from the
analysis.
heart on
Yeah,
this.
true story.
Let it fly.
So I believe, almost matter of factly, that a lot of the conditions that we suffer from are, I don't want to say they're self-induced.
Yeah.
So they're as a result of our situation,
Yeah.
the place we've put ourselves, and so they're overcomplicated. Our bodies, our brains are not designed to be in this sedentary sort of place.
Yep.
I know this just through the physical aspects
Yep.
because of the work that I do on muscles and tendons and bones and joints. Just motion has become, you know, it's become ridiculous in our country.
Yeah.
Our culture.
Yeah.
We don't move anymore, right?
Yep.
And so that has negative drawbacks to what happens to you physically.
Yep.
But then neurochemically, we sit in front of computers all day, and we're taking in so much sensory information that our brains become rot or overwhelmed really easy. Because between Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, news, you're constantly being bombarded, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's work, whether it's family, whether it's mortgage payments, whether it's retirement, you're always you're in essence in a situation of being completely overwhelmed.
Yeah. All the time.
Because you're being bombarded by stuff. You're
Yeah.
not designed to do that.
Right.
Your brain needs naps.
Yeah.
Just nothingness. That's where exercise becomes beautiful, because
Right.
you're there. You're away from the chatter. You're not sitting there on Twitter or on Facebook or Instagram reading posts. You're just doing. And that's why you feel so good, because your brain gets a little bit of a nap. It turns down, and then you tap into another portion of your brain, which is the area that, you know, it's the primitive brain that releases all this incredible neurochemistry, your brainstem. All right.
Yep.
Do I believe in Western medicine? Of course I do. You can't not. I mean, I'm sorry, like, you know, this idea of like being on one side or the other, I hate it.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe it's because I'm from Canada and I see things moderately, but it's like politics. I hate polarity. Like I hate opposites. I think there's truth. The truth is in the middle.
Yeah.
And so you lean on medicine. It's a wonderful form of science and research, and you lean on it when you need it, but you can't use it for day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
And so I believe, and again, I don't want to offend anyone out there, I believe a lot of people feel anxious. I know that a lot of people feel depression.
Yep.
And I'm totally sensitive to it, and in no way, shape, or form would I take them off medication. Okay, because I get this question all the time in my office.
I'm sure.
And I don't want to do that. I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
They have to make that choice. I'm not going to give you input, but I'm going to say these are, I would say definitely if you're going to go on medication for any of these conditions, you know, and this is independent of the people that are severe in either one of them, right?
Right.
I feel like if you're just on the cusp of feeling that way and someone throws that definition to you, I feel like you probably want to choose the conservative route first.
Yeah.
Right? I think, and a lot of doctors are going this direction, by the way. So the old fat guys are dying.
The old fat.
Well, you know what I'm saying. Listen, we're talking to
I
doctors. You know, they drive me crazy, right?
Yeah.
Because they give you all, you got to do this, you got to do that, and you look at them, and you know, they're smoking
They're a mess.
cigarettes. They're a mess. They're a hot mess.
Yeah.
And so I look at people that I want to follow,
Right.
like that are living it,
Yep. Yeah.
like living it.
Yeah.
Those doctors have a tendency of being very very progressive in their thoughts. And so what they want to do is they'll put you on those medications if need be, if it's an acute situation, but they want to take more the conservative road. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they want to really be more conservative. That's their essence of who they are. And so, at least I hope.
Yeah.
And so I can tell you that exercise becomes this modality that you use to be able to have the same measurable impact, just so you know.
Okay, yeah.
Here's something very interesting to prove this out.
Give it to me.
Cold bath.
Yep.
Cold plunge. It's cold, right?
Cold plunge. Freezing.
Freezing. Like, I mean, is it colder than your cryo?
Yes.
Way colder.
Yes, brutal.
Because cold in your cryotherapy, you get cold for a period of time, but it's not crazy cold because it's superficial. It's not core cold. It's not deep cold.
Yep.
So cold is this really, really cool entity that you do because it is this big resistance point. It's not just making your bed. Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone's dreadfully. No one likes it.
No.
No one embraces it. The beautiful thing about the cold is it becomes almost like a stress inoculation or a stress vaccine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you know you're going to feel stress. You know you're going to feel stress before you go in. You know you're going to feel that sensation when you go in because it's so freaking cold.
Yeah.
Biologically, your body's going, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
And then when you get in, what do? You slow your breathing down. So this becomes the breeding ground to have a better relationship and understanding how you can control the most stressful situation.
Yep.
And what's fascinating about the cold is it's 90% in your brain, 10% in your body.
You're kidding me.
90% in your brain because you feel it, dude. When you get to that place, right? You slow your breath down. You're breathing through your nose. Like so when you get in initially, there's that fight, flight, freeze.
Yep.
Right? You get an increase in norepinephrine, which is a stress hormone.
Yep. Yep.
Right? It goes up 530%. Dopamine goes up 250%. It's simultaneously. They go up almost immediately. It's
At what
crazy.
temperature does that have to happen?
Listen, all the science and research has been at 50 degrees.
Okay.
I think the optimum is going to be between 40 and 45, and that's what we have our cold plunge at.
Yeah, usually about 42, 41.
You have to make it a real challenge, right?
Yes.
Because there has to be this. I want you to be respectful of it, not fearful of it, respectful of it. There's a difference between the heroes and the non-heroes.
Yeah.
The heroes. No, there'd be these incredible human beings that do crazy stuff, well, like Alex Honnold or Laird Hamilton or Tom Brady or whoever your person is that performs under really intensive pressures, the Navy SEAL. They don't fear something, they respect it. There's a different, the words are different, right?
Yep.
And so what happens when you go in the cold is you get this incredible increase, amazing increase in norepinephrine. It's so high that that number 530 would be the number that you would see when you bungee jump or skydive for the very first time. Wow. And notice how I say first time.
First time.
Meaning that every single time you go in the cold, you get 530, but when you bungee jump or skydive, you get it the first time, but the second time you don't get as much, and third time and fourth time and fifth time. Wow. And so that's why that's where you get the adrenaline junkie.
Yeah.
The person who's now going from bungee jumping or skydiving to base jumping or flight suit stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So they want more. They need more action. That's why Laird Hamilton's now McNamara is looking for the 100-foot wave. 50 and 75 isn't good enough.
Yeah.
Right? They want more.
Yeah.
And so you get this every single time. It's a reproducible event neurochemically that you get 530% increase. You get an increase in dopamine 250%.
Every time.
Every single freaking time. Now it's because you met this resistance and you did it and you calmed down and you found your breath and you had these long, slow exhales through your nose, which is the way you should breathe during the course of the day, every single day, because it calms your nervous system down so you don't respond reflexively to the environment that you perceive to be really stressful, even though it's not, because it's a beautiful freaking day.
Yeah.
We live in San Diego.
Yeah.
Right? 72 degrees. You got nothing to worry about. Yeah. You're not in Kenya. Or Kenya's a beautiful place. You're not in Somalia. Okay. You're not in Yemen, right? Where you're going to be worried about getting bombed. Yeah. Okay. But your nervous system responds like that. So you get this every single time. Now here's the kicker. Dopamine 250% increase. Yeah. Just to put it in relativity for you.
Give it to me.
The most widely used drug, is cocaine. Okay. Yep. So people use cocaine constantly, that's a big problem, right?
Yeah.
And once you start, you want it more and more. What cocaine is, it's a dopamine reuptake inhibitor, which basically means it prevents your body's always producing dopamine, but it's stingy with it. So it lets some out and then it pulls it back in. So you don't have a reward for too long, because if you have a reward for too long, you're not going to do your next thing.
Yeah.
Because you're just happy.
Right.
Okay, so it's very stingy with it. Where cocaine, you don't have to do anything, and the dopamine flows around your system, but it doesn't last that long.
Right.
Okay, that's why people are going back and forth to the bathroom during the party.
Yeah.
You're wondering why the hell is their bladder that small? Oh, okay. Well, they're acting a little strange.
Yeah.
Okay. The cold, that 250% rise, lasts for 3 freaking hours.
3 hours?
3 hours. Check this out. This is the most recent research on the cold. Metabolically, what they've just proved out, I can't remember her name, Sorge, she's from Sweden or where's she from? Finland. Okay. She did a study, 6-year study on cold water swimmers.
Yeah.
Recreational cold water swimmers. And what they found is if you do regular, consistent, cold exposures during the course of the week.
Yep.
And the number that she came up with, it's a Sorengren or something like that. That's her name. She's a PhD. So they did this big clinical trial, and they found that people that did cold exposure through the course of the week, and it ended up being between 9 and 12 minutes for the week in segments of 3 to 4 minutes at a time.
How cold?
They didn't say the temperature, but again, it's going to probably hit that benchmark of 50 degrees or less.
Wow.
Okay. So,
and you said, hold on a second.
Yeah.
How many minutes each time?
No, it's a
total.
Cumulative total.
Got it. Okay.
Between 9 to 12 minutes or something. Okay.
Okay.
So in essence, bifurcating each session,
okay,
maybe 3 minutes, 3 times a week, 4 times a week,
right?
And so what they found is you had something called brown fat activation.
Brown fat?
Yes.
Okay, give it to me.
So you have white fat and you have brown fat.
Yes.
The difference between white fat and brown fat is location, geography of where that fat is.
Yep.
Brown fat, you're born with brown fat. Baby is born with brown fat. And the reason why it's born with brown fat, babies are born with brown fat, is because they can unswaddle in the middle of the night. And now all of a sudden their body's exposed to the environment, right?
Okay.
And they have brown fat because what happens is this brown fat kicks in if their body gets cold, and it acts like a furnace.
Yeah.
And it starts to burn metabolically, so it heats their body back up. But science has shown that actually as you mature and you get older, you lose your brown fat. So we thought it was just a biologic. It was something that happened when you were young, and then it's gone, and when it's gone, it's gone.
Huh.
What she proved out is that you can actually get brown fat activation.
No kidding.
So what that basically means, and it was kind of this phantom thing for many years. I'd learned about it for a long time, but in essence, repeated cold exposure increases the amount of brown fat. It surrounds your viscera, and it's in your upper back, right?
Yeah.
And so what it does is as you increase your brown fat levels, it acts like a furnace and it burns white fat.
No kidding.
So what you're going to see is people are using cold exposures to actually reduce the amount of fat they have. So actually get them to lose weight. So I'm going to guarantee that in the next 5 years, you're going to see places where you can actually go to do exactly what it is that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay. There's just going to be cold plunges, and people will be sitting in cold plunges to actually lose weight, because it increases your metabolism by up to 350%.
Up to 350%.
Yes.
So is this, because my cryotherapy place has something called, I don't remember what, something fat freeze, or
Yes.
I don't remember the exact terminology on it, but they're freezing fat cells.
Yes.
Is this the same thing?
Without, yeah. I mean, listen, I don't want to throw anyone on the bus, and I love the cryotherapy movement, because really it led us to the cold exposure movement, and so I don't want to bite the hand that feeds me. So it gave this introduction to cold for people.
Okay.
And it became a sort of thing that people did. I'm going to tell you the research on cryotherapy, because the duration is so short.
Yeah.
It's more surface level.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to throw them under the bus, and I don't want to sit here and tell you that the research is shoddy.
Yeah.
I just don't think that it's as studied as a deeper form of cold, which is cold immersion.
Cold immersion.
Yeah, which is like water. Like water, just so you know, there's a difference between air temperature and water temperature. So when you come into the cold plunge, it's 40, 41, 39. It's somewhere vacillates between there. Does it feel like that in the air temperature? Like if you were doing the same thing air temperature, which one's colder, water or air?
Water. 100%.
Like you didn't even
because the air's 90 below.
Yes. So that's very interesting, right?
Yes.
So air temperature doesn't permeate as deep. See, it's thermogenic properties of water that actually pull heat from you, because every single portion of your tissue is exposed.
Yep.
And it's sucking the water, the heat from you 25 times faster than air temperature.
Wow.
And so that's where, you know, the ice plunge or cold plunge becomes this anti-inflammatory. We already know that. That's almost boring to talk about. As an athlete, you understand the whole concept of anti-inflammatory. Vasoconstriction, vasodilation, right? So you got this vasoconstriction with cold, anti-inflammatory. It helps out joints, helps muscles, recovery, all these kinds of things, right? So that's really good. But then you've got this brown fat activation, which is huge. Then you got this cardiovascular component where you get vasoconstriction. Your arteries become really small when you go in the cold, and your peripheral tissues, your arms, your legs, it's not your trunk, because that's where you get vasodilation.
Explain that concept. I get it now because you're the one who explained all that to me.
Sure.
But explain what happens when you get in the cold bath with blood circulation. Why do your extremities get cold?
Yes.
What happens?
And why is there so much discomfort there? Because you have your arteries in your extremities, whether it's your hands, your arms, your legs, your feet, and inclusive of your head, by the way, just so you know, that's an extremity as well. You get vasoconstriction there. Your arteries become smaller.
Yep.
And what it's doing, your body's actually protecting, really, in essence, your core.
Yep.
So in essence, it's calling all the warm blood to your core, because that's where all the
vital organs
are.
Yep.
Your heart, your liver, your pancreas, your spleen, everything's situated there. So you've got a flood of warm blood to protect these.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, throwing a blanket over your child.
Yeah.
When things are cold, you're going to take your shirt off, your jacket off, and actually protect the baby, right?
Yep.
These are your babies. And so you got a flood of warm blood in your trunk, and you got so there's dilation that happens in your trunk, and then vasoconstriction that happens in your extremities.
Yep.
Okay. And so what it ends up being is super healthy event, because your arteries, your cardiovascular system wants to be flexible. It doesn't want to be strong. You don't want a strong cardiovascular system.
Okay.
If you have a strong heart, it's pathological. It leads to something called congestive heart failure. So if your heart muscles become too thin, they can't contract and expand as well.
Okay.
So you want a strong heart, but you want it to be flexible.
Okay.
You want it to be able to deal with high heart rates. This is heart rate variability, right? Yeah. Heart rate variability is really high heart rate to a really low heart rate. So it's the polarity, it's opposites. This is where all these technology gadgets are going. They want your heart rate variability to be really long and wide. And so the greater the variability, the better you are, right? We don't want short.
Yep.
And so because you can meet resistance better, right?
Right.
And so what we do is we do cold vasoconstriction, and then hot vasodilation. So it's like yoga for your cardiovascular system. So it keeps them expansive. Like what we want in our cardiovascular system is flexibility.
Right.
We want pliability for them to be able to endure high levels, really super high heart rates and really low heart rates. And so they have to be expansive and small. So we want that your arteries to be super flexible. And so in essence, that's where the sauna comes in too, right? Because it's high heart rate. Yeah. Right. It's vasodilation to all those things. So it's opposite of cold. So now all of a sudden you get dilation within your extremities. Right? Yep. And you get an evacuation of heat here, because your vitals don't want to be overheated. They want to cool down.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so we have to. So you've got the anti-inflammatory for the cold. You've got the elasticity or pliability of your vascular system, like a healthy, flexible vascular system. Yep. And then you've got the metabolism, right? So you've got brown fat activation. These mitochondrial engines. It's brown because it's enriched with mitochondria. So the only difference between white fat and brown fat is brown fat is rich in mitochondria, which gives it that beigey color. Yep. White fat is just straight adipose. Just adipose. We want to burn that shit.
Exactly.
We want to get rid of that.
And so you're telling me, frequent cold plunging.
Yes.
9 to whatever minutes per week.
Yes, 9 to 12.
You're going to increase your brown fat.
Yes.
100%, no question about it.
It's not even up for discussion. Well, I mean, listen, everything's up for discussion. Yeah. At one point in time, the world was flat, but I'm going to tell you, this is where the research is going. This is what they're showing out. How about this? We're proving undeniably that you can actually activate and reinvigorate these brown fat storage places.
So are you confident in saying that if you do this on a regular basis, that you can potentially not only maintain a good weight, or you can lose weight and burn fat?
Yes.
Just
sitting in cold.
Just from sitting in cold. Yes.
And it makes sense. Listen, it's twofold, right?
Yeah.
So on one hand you've got the brown fat activation that
Yep.
warms you back up. It burns once you get too cold.
Yeah.
Right. So it's actually going to actually turn on and rev those engines to warm you back up in the event that you get cold.
Yep.
But when you do get cold, you also get something called cold water thermogenesis, which is a shivering.
Yeah.
And the shivering, it's no different than you going to the gym.
Yeah.
So if you shiver, then you're contracting all these little muscles.
Yep.
And that metabolically is actually increasing the burn ratio.
Right.
Because as you're activating those muscles
Metabolism.
to shiver. Exactly.
Yeah.
Metabolism. So the shivering is actually becomes a very positive thing. So you got, on one hand, you got brown fat activation, then you got cold water thermogenesis. Now, I don't want you to be shivering for 2 hours, but that's your body's way of warming itself back up.
Right.
Those muscles are contracting to heat yourself.
Yep.
And so you've got the metabolism that you burn, or the energy that you burn through this brown fat activation, because it's so rich in mitochondria, and then you've got this shivering impact. But the big reason why I want people to do the cold is for me, the area that I love is you're forced to be there. It's meditation.
Yes.
When you went into the cold the first time, if you were able to get out of your brain, which you had to, because you have to. You don't have a choice. If you try to out fitness it, you're not going to.
Yeah.
And so it's about staying calm, slowing your breath down.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you're just thinking about each and every single breath, slowing it down, relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your jaw, relaxing your eyes, just letting it go, surrendering.
Yeah.
It doesn't just become a metaphor for how you should live in your rest of your life. It becomes like how you should breathe, right?
Yeah.
When things go sideways.
Right. Becoming
the superhero.
Yeah.
Right. You actually also get this very, very, you're pushed into a meditation because you can't think of anything else.
You can't. It's
if
impossible.
you start opening your eyes and looking around and talking, all of a sudden you start shaking, then it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But what you find, and you see this at the end, you're totally still.
Totally.
Like you're not shaking at all. In fact, you're way colder when you first got in than you were when you get out, which is not physiologically possible, by the way.
Yeah.
But that's why I say it's 90% in your brain, 10% in your body.
No kidding.
The 90% becomes this resistance point, right? It sucks. This is uncomfortable. This is pain. When's this going to be over? If you start asking yourself these questions, you're going to fight it.
Yeah.
And when you fight it, it's like trying to fight against a grizzly bear. It's not wise.
Yeah.
I'm from Canada, man. You play dead.
Yeah.
Play dead in the freaking cold.
Yeah.
And play dead during the course of your regular life when things go sideways.
Yeah.
Calm down. We always want to be around that person that's super calm under stressful situations.
Yeah.
It's your breath that takes you there.
It's your breath.
It's your breath, 100% time, 100% of the way. So in a way, our studio represents this place to be able to elevate your nervous system, get you into, again, that zone where you're completely meditative, and then also this training ground to be able to be super calm and dial your nervous system down when normally when you get into cold, how do you want to breathe?
Yeah.
That's
You're
biological.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're not doing that. It's a choice.
Yeah.
Make the choice.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the more you do it, the more you recognize and understand that you are in control. And that's why I love this practice, is because it's allowing you to understand how to tap into your inner tools, be able to use the science and be able to explain the science of each and every single aspect of what we do, understand what's going on at a cellular level, biologically, and neurochemically, all of these things.
Yeah.
But it becomes this mental and physical gym where you walk away, and most importantly, you're doing it with really cool people.
Yeah.
Like, it's the coolest part about it is the community.
Yeah. Every time I've gone there, I don't even know these people.
But you know them.
But you know them.
Yes.
Especially if you've been, yeah. So,
you did what you're doing.
You
know?
What was it that you said? Those who struggle together,
grow
together. What was the?
Yeah. So the reality is oxytocin is something. It's the love hormone. You hear Barry White playing in the background, right? So oxytocin is a cuddle hormone. That's what the scientists and researchers will say. When you see your kids, your wife, anyone you love, it's like, oh my gosh, I feel so incredible. Like, this oxytocin's being released. When a baby is sucking on the boob, oxytocin is being released both ways. It's a bonding agent.
Yeah.
So it makes you committed it makes the mother committed to the baby committed to the mother. Trust.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And so we're always producing oxytocin. And it makes us feel really good about the connection that we have with other people. That's why they call it the love chemistry. But it turns out that oxytocin is actually a stress hormone.
Huh.
And what that basically means, if you think about the biology of it, it makes perfect sense. We associate this oxytocin with relationships, people that we love or care about in this day and age because everything's given to us. Like, life is easy.
Yeah.
And so, but 200, 300, 400 years ago, life was a struggle. And this old adage, it takes a village.
Yeah. Right.
You needed your people, your village, your tribe to be able to survive as a solo person. Like
Yeah.
you couldn't do it. You couldn't just one off it and do it yourself.
Correct. No way.
Very seldom would you be able to do that. So collectively, the tribe would get together and they had a job or a mission that everyone had to do something, and you accomplish these really large tasks for the greater good of the community, and everyone had a job, but you struggled to go get a moose. You struggled to go catch the fish or build the house or whatever it actually is.
Yeah.
And this very struggle was the thing that kept you galvanized together. You see this now with sports teams.
Yep.
You see this now with Navy SEALs or whatever groups of people. It's your community, right?
Yeah.
But it's the struggle. Why are you so close to your family? Because you've gone through the mud.
Yeah. Yeah.
The struggle is really what defines how connected you are. And so in times of stress, in times of hardship, in times of group calamity, the people that you go through the war with, war is another one, right?
Yeah.
Are the people that you're the closest to.
Huh.
And so it ends up being what keeps them together is this oxytocin.
Yeah.
It's a group effort. And you struggle together, and it's this oxytocin that becomes this binding agent. So therefore, it's a stress hormone.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really cool. That's why, again, we can't put this blanket on stress and say it's just all terrible.
Right.
We have to realize that this perceptive stress, we have to get over that.
Yes.
Okay, and be able to undo the thing. And
Right.
I think we have solutions for that.
Yeah.
Because it's not real. And then we have to have a different relationship with stress. You talked about the breath holds. Normally, holding your breath is
yeah.
a stressful event.
Yeah.
Okay, and you were doing it on exhalation. So during
Exhalation.
exhalation, and then holding your breath. Most people, when they want to hold their breath for a long period of time, they'd go,
they'd hold it in.
and then hold it in.
So with these guys, what he's explaining here is when you're doing the breaths, you do about 40 breaths, give or take,
Yep.
and then you say hold, and we're actually holding it on the exhale. All right, so give it to me. Give
so
me the
normally,
signs.
if you did that now, if I said, okay, exhale, dump all the air out of your lungs, and then hold your breath, you couldn't hold your breath for very long.
Yeah, not long.
So gets really uncomfortable real fast. And so normally holding breaths is a stressful event. You don't like it. People, we associate with having contests with our friends, holding your breath under the water and doing all that stuff. And it becomes this taxing thing that we don't like. Well, this breath hold is actually the most relaxing portion of and you probably will validate this.
I love it.
Like you love the breath hold. It feels good.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because the 40 breaths have fully oxygenated your body. Ironically enough, you get so oxygenated, you've kicked out all the CO2. CO2 is not a waste product, in fact, and I'll talk to you about fitness in just a second.
Yeah,
give me.
Yeah, glad you mentioned that because I want you to get on that.
It's a huge deal from fitness, and that's where we're going as well.
Yep.
So as we do the breathing, the amount of oxygen in your blood gets to 100% saturation.
Yep.
Like you can't take another molecule of oxygen; it's not possible.
Right.
And so once you get to 100%, you've kicked out all the CO2, and now this oxygen, because there's no CO2, it just goes around and around your cardiovascular in your blood, and it doesn't get absorbed by the tissues.
Yep.
And so when you exhale at the end, and you hold your breath, CO2 ends up being really, in essence, the Uber driver that picks up, or the taxi driver that picks the oxygen molecule off the hemoglobin.
Yep.
You need CO2 in order to get the oxygen from your vascular system, your arteries, your capillary beds, into the tissues.
Got it.
So it's called Bohr effect.
Yeah.
Okay. So as your body, as you sit there, as you're holding your breath, the CO2 in your tissue starts to rise.
Okay.
And as it does, as it accumulates, it goes and plucks the oxygen molecule off and allows that oxygen to go from the blood into the tissues. Okay, because what's happened is we fully oxygenated your blood here, but now your tissues are hypoxic.
Yeah.
They're without oxygen because it can't go from the blood. The saturation level's too high.
Yeah.
It's hyperbaric chamber. Go look up the health benefits of hyperbaric chamber, which is pure oxygen.
Right.
It's an amazing study that just came out of Israel. Very, very unbelievable in terms of longevity and stuff like that. It's
really
unbelievable, dude. It's crazy. I could go. You got to stop me because I'll go in tangents. But bottom line, what you're doing. I'd love to dig in that. I will go so deep you have no idea. But I'm kind of going deep here anyways. It's the same sort of principle. What happens is whether you have 100% oxygen permeation as a result of breath or it's being pumped into you, you don't have any CO2 in the blood.
Okay.
And so what happens is the amount of CO2 that's in the blood is negligible.
Yeah.
And so you have CO2 in your tissue. So the amount of oxygen that's going from the blood into the tissues is actually low when you're doing your breathing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But when you stop breathing, the CO2 starts to build up in the tissues and goes and actually takes the oxygen from the blood and goes into the tissue. So you're actually breathing without breath.
Wow.
And so this is really cool now because you have a hypoxic event during the breathing.
Yeah.
And then you have, then for a period of time during that initial portion of your breath hold, you're super comfortable. You're just kind of chilling and you're going, man, I don't feel like I need to breathe. This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then eventually you get to a place where you go, crap, I got to breathe. Well, just so you know, whenever you feel like you're out of breath, whether it's an exercise or a breath hold or whatever it is that you're doing, it's never because of oxygen.
Huh.
Your body is not picking up. Oxygen has nothing to do with the sensation or the urge to breathe. So when you feel like you're out of breath, it's actually, it's CO2. CO2 is what gives you, a rise of CO2 gives you the sensation or the urge to breathe. Now I want you to think about how this works out in terms of your overall fitness.
Right.
Like if I told you that you could keep running, keep going, you could go faster, farther, harder, if you had a better relationship with CO2, this would be a game changer.
Totally.
In terms of your ability to be able to perform.
Yep.
Because the thing that stops you dead in your tracks is you feel like you're out of breath.
Right.
But you're not out of oxygen. You're just you're sensitive to the CO2. So what we do during the breath hold is we want to get you more comfortable with your relationship with CO2, which is sensed by something in your brain called a chemoreceptor.
Yeah.
The chemoreceptor on most people is very, very tight and rigid, small. We want it to get it large and flexible. And so you don't sense CO2 in the way. And this is what I think getting in shape is.
Yeah.
So just so you know, breath holds, intentional breath holds, intermittent breath holds that are intentional, just won a Nobel Prize in terms of their health benefits back in 2019.
Wow.
Yeah. So what they found is that if you starve your body of oxygen for finite periods of time, like that are intentional, then what you do is every single cell in your body has a hypoxic inducible factor, HIF they call it.
Yep.
And so every cell senses this low level of oxygen and it throws off growth factors that causes something called neural and respiratory plasticity, which means your respiratory system grows and your neural system goes, your nerves grow. So it becomes these growth factors. So when you starve your body and your brain of oxygen, it actually grows. The metaphor that I like using, which I think you remember, is the two trees, right? I have one tree on my yard here, the other tree on my yard here. This one here, they're fruit trees. I water this one on the trunk. I water this one 50 feet away. If I come back 3 years later, which tree is going to be larger and bear more fruit? Well, conventional wisdom would tell you it'd be the one on the trunk, right?
Yep.
And it's true.
Yeah.
In the first 2 years, it does grow.
Yeah.
The other one looks like it's almost dead, but it's not.
No kidding.
What's happening is when you water the one on the trunk, you're watering it, and the tree is growing, but the roots aren't growing at all because it doesn't have to struggle. The ones that are getting watered 50 feet away, have all the growth's taking place underneath. Wow. And so the root system is growing because it has to go towards the water.
Yeah.
And as a result of this, the roots expand out, and then I say 3 years because initially that tree doesn't grow very much in the first 2 years above ground, but then that third year, all of a sudden the tree's larger and bearing more fruit because the root system is so much more expansive. This one here is just a root ball. The root didn't go anywhere. Why would it go somewhere when there's no source? Didn't have to go anywhere. Why? It's on the couch. Yeah. Eating Cheetos, watching really crappy reality TV. Yeah. Right? It doesn't have to do anything. And so you're only as strong as the stress that you put on your body. And we, again, have to look at these events of exercise, all being stressors that are good stressors. Yep. You're pushing yourself to the max, and as a result, you expand and grow. Look at you, for instance. You can tell that I don't lift weights, right? Dadbody.com. Yeah. You clearly have stressed your muscles. That's how they got bigger. Yep. You put weight on. You didn't do it by doing calisthenics. Right. You didn't do it by doing yoga. No. You got as large as you did by stressing your body. Yep. Lifting weights is a stressful event. Yep. Good stress. Right? Yeah. You got stronger as a result of it. Yep. I get stronger. I do the ultramarathon things. I get stronger cardiovascularly because I'm hypoxic. You're hypoxic with the muscles. That's failure, fatigue. Yeah. Okay? Yep. You're getting hypoxic lifting. I'm getting hypoxic by running. Okay? Yep. They're just different types of hypoxia. I mean, they're not different types. They're different ways or channels to become hypoxic. Getting into shape, what the hell does that mean? Getting into shape basically means your body has habituated the behavior. You've gotten a better relationship with what it is that you're doing. You've got acclimatized, your system has gotten acclimatized to what it is that you put, the stress you put it under.
Yep.
And it's growing as a result of it. This is what getting in shape is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And so
Yeah.
you see this with lifting weights all the time.
Yep.
I mean, if you take a month off, you not only deflate, but it's harder to lift those weights, but then you can get back on the rack and actually put that weight back on pretty quickly because your body's been there.
Yep. Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a huge portion that people have to recognize and understand.
And so, going back to the, okay, now this is so good, dude. This is talk about. I mean, this information, bro. I'm telling you, I'm hoping everybody's they got to be on the edge of the seat for this one.
Well, it has to get out there, right? I mean,
It's got to.
The big challenge with
what's
all
happening?
this stuff is that people, well, listen, we're following the wrong people. We're listening to old information. The new information out there is matter of fact. It's again, we're talking high levels of science here. We're not talking about a natural health care journal. We're talking about something that's really, really, the complexities are simplistic.
Yeah.
We're trying to overthink stuff, and we don't have to overthink it. We just have to be animals again.
Yeah.
Right? And we have to struggle, and we have to rest within the struggle and realize that every struggle that you face leads to a measure of confidence. Because if you get through, even if you fail, it's a success.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as failing.
Right.
Because if you don't fail, you can't have confidence. Because if you make it every single time, then it's not hard enough.
No.
Do something every single day that scares you.
Yeah.
You have to lean into life. We have to understand, we have to push our bodies, we have to push our minds to do bigger, better, greater things. And we have to challenge ourselves because that, in essence, every rung that you climb up becomes a higher measure of confidence, which gives you this ability to be able to take yourself to a place that you thought you never could go. So confidence is really just a byproduct of action.
Yeah.
Like doing stuff that you don't think you can do. Don't do stuff you can do. What the hell would you do that for?
Yeah.
Do stuff that's challenging, that you don't think you can do. Work your way up to the place of taking yourself to a spot where you never thought you could go, and then guess what you're going to do? Go freaking further.
Go further.
So this is the only separation between the people that we look up to. We put them on this pedestal.
Yeah.
I hate that shit.
Yeah.
Drives me crazy.
Yeah.
They're not special.
No.
The only thing that makes them special is they did. And so each and every single person out there, I guarantee you, has the capacity and the ability to do anything they want if they understand it's all within them.
Yeah.
And you have to stop listening to this negative dialogue and negative chatter. It's insane because it's not a real story. It's a false narrative.
Yeah.
Stop freaking telling the story. Put down your crap and do it.
Yeah.
Don't question it. Don't say, "Oh, I shouldn't." If you want to get old, just act old.
Yeah.
And by the way, just so you know, this whole 50 thing off the cliff, right?
Yeah.
Why did the lung capacity drop down when they hit 50? Because they stopped acting and doing the same things they did when they were 20. They just sit on the freaking couch and put on their Al Bundy jersey and say, "When I was 25, I used to do, oh man, you should have said, oh, I got bad knees now." You got bad knees because you don't do crap.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay? It's a feeble excuse. And if you want to live that life, then have it. If you like the knee pain, if you like all these things, then don't do anything. If you want to get old, get old.
Yeah.
It's a choice. Make a choice. But don't blame, age on stuff.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you, listen, I've had my butt kicked by a 65-year-old woman on a 100-mile race, one of the worst hundreds in the United States. 24,000 feet of elevation gain. New Jersey she was from.
Oh my God.
Guess what? She passed me at mile 77 and she's wearing Crocs.
Are you
on a
kidding
trail
me?
that you can't even imagine. Okay? I'm sitting here with tears in my eyes and she's going, "Hey, sunshine." Okay? So humility, ego, went out the door for me. She became one of the most influential people in my life because that was when I was in my early 40s. Okay? And I realized that any of this dogma or belief systems that I have in my brain in terms of what life is going to look like when I get older, I just go back to her. I wish I remembered her name. She ran freaking 100-mile race, one of the toughest, 24,000 feet of elevation on really tough trails, 30 hours straight, and she beat me in Crocs. Okay,
In
and I'm
Crocs?
proud to say it. Yes, it was nuts. I can't even believe it.
Unbelievable. So it's a choice.
It's a choice, dude. It's a choice.
So everybody listening, everybody watching,
yeah,
make the decision.
and stick with it. Like if you want to be a victim, then be a victim. There's some people that have. Listen, another thing that actually sticks in my mind in terms of the choice, right? This choice.
How much longer can we keep firing? 5? Okay,
Okay,
5 minutes.
so check this out. I had a guy. I was running on a trail, really tough trail, right?
Yeah.
It's like a mile pretty much straight up, and it's rocky and it's miserable, and I run it in the dead of heat. I always run when it's hot. I always exercise. And by the way, that's really another beautiful level of stress. If you're exercise in heat. It's
By the
tough.
way, because of you, I'm doing 4 to 5 saunas, 3 to 4 saunas a week right now.
Oh yeah, you don't even want to do the science on that is crazy.
It's outstanding, right?
Okay, I'll explain
Sum
it
it
real
up.
quick.
Go ahead.
I'll do it quickly. Sauna heat. It's not even sauna. It's just heat in general.
Okay.
So everyone says sauna, but it's really just this heat index.
Okay.
You have to do stuff. If you wanted to do the next level of fitness, or you want to, sauna is a way where you can sit and actually do something at egregious heats.
Yes.
But heat plays a massive role in terms of health. Finland.
Yep.
Why did Finland have all the sauna studies? Because they have more saunas there than people. Okay, so it's easy to study. Yes.
Yeah.
They did a study with I think it was like 4,000 men between 45 and 65. They had one group of men that did it 1 time a week, the other group of men that did it between 4 and 7 times a week.
Okay.
Here's what they found out after 22 years of doing the same study.
22 years.
22 years. Longitudinal study. Awesome study. Okay. 22 years. They found that there was a 52% reduction in cardiovascular-related deaths.
Which number?
On 4 to 7.
4 to
You did
7.
it 4 to 7 versus 1 time per week.
Verse
So if
1.
you did sauna 4 to 7
Okay.
times a week, there was a 52% reduction in cardiovascular-related deaths. There's a 40% reduction in all-cause mortality. That's death of any kind. Doesn't matter what it is, okay? You got a 67% reduction in Alzheimer's and a 68% reduction in dementia, 60% reduction in stroke. If that was a pill, just so you know, that would be the valuation of that would be crazy. Like it would be like a FANG stock. Right?
Wow.
It's just that would be its own pharmaceutical company like
100%.
Novartis or whatever.
Yeah,
okay?
no doubt.
So, and by the way, that's comparing those that go to the sauna 4 to 7 times a week
Yeah.
versus those that sauna 1 time a week. What
Right.
happens if you compared it to 4 to 7 to 0?
Yeah.
What would the numbers be?
Oh my God.
It's crazy.
Way through the
Cold.
roof.
Let's talk about the cold for a second. Just so you know, I call it a chill pill.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's a mental gym. I think it's this exercise to be able to undo, what we perceive to be stresses, and to be able to have a better relationship, your breath, being able to control your nervous system, but also recognize that what's happening in the cold is you get this rise of norepinephrine, 530%, this dopamine, 250%.
Yeah.
Just so you know, every anti-anxiety, every antidepressant medication, every anti-ADHD medication,
Yes.
they're all neurogenic and dopamine reuptake inhibitors, which in essence, the pill prevents your body from reuptaking all of these chemistries.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And so it has the same biologic impact that one of these pills do. And so again, what I'm saying, whether it's the hot, whether it's the cold, whether it's the breathing, you are a pharmacy.
Yeah.
So freaking get busy, become the pharmacist,
Yep.
start getting out that little metal thing, dispense yourself that, but it's going to take more work than popping a pill and freaking chugging it with a glass of beer or a glass of wine.
Which is what the majority of people are doing.
Yeah, dude, because they haven't been told. They haven't been
That's
told.
it.
Yeah. And you can call it conspiracy, we can call it whatever you want. The reality is we have to understand that we have, without question, it's not deniable anymore through science, we have the capacity to be not just healthier, happier, and stronger. No question.
Yeah.
But we have to do the work. You have to put in the work. You didn't get your size without putting in the work.
Right.
You don't make a good living unless you put in the work. You don't become a good dad or a husband or anything without putting in the work. A friend, whatever it is, you have to put the freaking work in to get the reward. Understand that your body becomes this temple which you can tap into. You've got all your inner tools. All this lifestyle that we've been living, this is new, dude.
Yeah.
To mankind.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. In the last 100 years, prior to 100 years, they were doing trepidation for mental illness. They were punching a hole in your head, saying that let the evil spirits out. No. Okay, that's in the name of medical science.
Yeah.
Medicine is brand new, and we're going in a really cool direction, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is we're also going in a bad direction.
Right.
And we can't get crippled and someone take away our weapons that we have inside us to make us better. And the biggest weapon is your brain.
Yes.
Okay.
Biggest weapon is the brain.
100%. Confidence.
Confidence.
Do hard things.
Do
Challenge
hard
yourself.
things.
Challenge yourself.
Don't
If you
just sit around.
If you sit around, okay, no greatness was ever made there. Warm and cozy is great, okay, but you can't stay warm and cozy your entire life. You're not going to get confidence. This is the reason why trust fund babies always flounder.
Yes.
Because they have everything, but they have nothing.
You sit around, pop pills, do nothing. What's going to happen?
If everything's given to you,
Say flat out.
Yes.
You're going to die early.
Yes, for sure. And
Yeah.
but also keep in mind, if everything is given to you, if you have everything,
Yeah.
what are you chasing?
Yeah.
It's the journey. It's not the destination.
course.
The car, the houses, all this shit that
Yeah.
you earn. You think it's going to make you happy, but it doesn't end up making you happy at all.
No.
What ends up making you happy is the journey that you went on to get
The process, the stress.
work. It's the process. It's the stress. The resistance that you actually overcame to be able to get
The
there.
hormetic was a hormetic.
Hormetic stress. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Huh? What's up? Did you get
okay?
something out of that? That was good, dude.
Was that okay?
We could keep firing. We could keep firing. And I want to keep firing,
of
but he's
shit.
not letting me. We're done. We're done. He's like, we're done. Real Deal Talk. Tyler Forbes.
You got to cut me
Go
off,
to
man.
Breathe Degrees.
Breathe Degrees. Come and check it
Get
out,
in
you
there,
guys.
dude. I'm actually
crazy
now.
stuff.
I'm inspired. I'm gonna get the cold plunge for my house now. I'm gonna go back and forth between the sauna and that.
You got
Is
to
it-
crush it every single day, though.
Every day.
I'm telling you, wake up in the morning and do it. Or night. If you want to sleep.
Are you doing it every morning right now?
Yeah.
You are.
I do.
Every single morning.
Yeah, I go in with my people when I have a smaller group.
Yeah.
I go in with them. You know, if I got a bunch of vets and I don't have any
Yeah.
new people, I go
Yeah.
in with them. But yeah, I do it at my house. I do it a couple times a day.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
All right, he's waving us. He's like, that's it.
Cut them off.
Dude.
Get the hook.
Phenomenal.
Bam.
2 hours of practical, right? If you're not motivated to do something after that, you might check your pulse or just tune in or to tune into another podcast. Dude, I love you.
All right.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
Thanks
you
for having
coming
me,
in.
brother.